Thank you for being with us this evening. It is 6 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get ready to start our meeting. Before we start our meeting, I'd like to ask Mayor Pro Tem Deborah Lewis to give us our invocation. Please stand.
Shall we bow our heads? Heavenly Father, we come to you, first of all, thanking you because you are the Almighty, and there's nothing that passes your eyes that you don't see. And Father, right now I pray for our nation. I pray for countries throughout the world. I pray for wisdom at our national level, and I pray for wisdom within our state. And Father, I pray for wisdom tonight on this dais, that you will help us as elected officials to do the best that we can to represent the citizens of the city of Los Banos. We ask that you strengthen everyone here. Bless the people who have attended. Bless those who are watching by YouTube and other ways. And we just ask that you just give us strength tonight. And we give you glory and honor in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I'd like to call our meeting to order for March 4th, 2026. Chief Reyna, if you could give us the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And thank you for joining us again this evening. And now we'll have roll call. Lucy?
Perez.
Here.
Chavez.
Here.
Lewis.
Here.
Amabil.
Here. Next item is consideration approval agenda as submitted, and the recommendation is to adopt the agenda as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda as submitted. Any further questions? Not hearing any. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And we have a few presentations here. Hey, Joe. Joe Himes, our Park and Recreation Director. And this Friday is Arbor Day in Los Banos, and we are honored to proclaim and recognize Arbor Day in our town. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas the trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for the wildlife, and whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in the city increase property values, enhance the economy, vitality of businesses in our area, and beautify our community. And whereas the city of Los Banos has been recognized as Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation and desires to continue tree planting ways. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Michael S. Amabil, Mayor of the City of Los Banos, and our City Council of Los Banos, California, do hereby recognize March 6th, 2026 as Arbor Day in the City of Los Banos, and urge all citizens to support efforts to care for our trees and woodlands and to support our city's community forestry program. Joe, thank you. Angelina? Well, we read about this, and I was notified about Angelina, and you're very impressive, let me tell you this. And we can't help but be honored to be able to recognize you in what you've already achieved and what you're going to achieve in your future. And this is proclamation recognizing Angelina Borelli. Whereas Angelina Borelli, a student athlete at the Los Banos High School, has achieved national recognition by earning the ranking of #3 in the nation by Sports Illustrated and #1 in the state of California in girls wrestling, reflecting years of hard work, discipline, academic commitment, and the support of her family, coaches, educators, and community. And whereas Angelina accepted an appointment to the United States Air Force Academy, where she will continue her academics and athletic journey while preparing to serve our nation. Whereas Angelina will join her brother Larry, a Los Banos Tiger Wrestling alumnus, class of 2024 at the United States Air Force Academy, while fellow Los Banos Tiger wrestlers Nathan Colton, class of 2025, is currently attending the United States Naval Academy, marking 3 Los Banos Tiger wrestlers in 3 years to earn appointments to the United States Service Academics. And whereas Angelina's accomplishments represent the values and dedication, resilience, leadership, and character, and serves as an inspiration to fellow students and young athletes throughout the Los Banos community. Whereas Angelina's success highlights the important role and supportive in family, committed coaches, engaged educators, and access to safe training spaces and school facilities play in helping students develop the discipline and preparation necessary to pursue opportunities such as national rankings, collegiate athletes, and service academy appointments. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed, I, Michael S. Bill, the mayor of the city of Los Banos, and the city council do hereby recognize and congratulate Angelina for her outstanding achievements in athletics, academics, and service, and extend the best wishes for continued success at the United States Air Force Academy and her future service to our country. We're so proud of you. Thank you. It's quite an achievement. Next, we have a Peninsula Clean Energy program updates and presentation by Sean Marshall, the CEO of Peninsula Clean Energy. And I'm going to turn this over to our Community and Economic Development Director, Sousa Elms, before you speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. It's my pleasure to introduce Sean Marshall, the Executive Director of, the Chief Executive Director of Peninsula Clean Energy, to provide you an update of their programs and services offered to our residents of Los Banos that are enrolled in Peninsula Clean Energy. So Sean, if you'd like to take it away, we will pull up the PowerPoint presentation.
We're so honored to have you here in our town.
Nice to see you all again. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, council members. I was just chatting with my colleagues Viri Renteria and Mark Hirschman, who I believe many of you know. I believe I was here exactly to the day last year, doing maybe a similar update, and so the time flies. And we've been having a busy and good time at Peninsula Clean Energy. I do want to acknowledge the service of Mayor Emmaville on our board. I really appreciate how much you've leaned in and all the value that you provide on behalf of the City of Los Banos to our board. So I'm going to keep this one very, very short. Hopefully all of you received the letter that was sent to the council and city manager, I think about 3 weeks ago. We do that annually, just sort of detailing the different benefits that the city, along with its residents and businesses, have gained since you have been part of our agency since 2022. So lower impact, delivered together. That's really what we are focused on. Our value proposition is maintaining lower electric generation rates, which we have since the day we were formed in 2016. We have provided cleaner energy all the way through. We are currently at 60% renewable, 100% carbon free across all of our products. And we're very focused on community reinvestment, specifically economic development in the community. So here in Los Banos, that means solar panels on the Los Banos Community Center. I believe there are batteries going in there as well to augment that project. We have solar panels at the wastewater treatment plant, and we also have provided grant funding for both HVAC and water heating at various city facilities, with more to come. So hopefully you all have experienced that benefit as well. So far, we have saved Los Banos customers $4.5 million since 2022. That's the equivalent of about 7 free days of electricity each year. And we also have $10 million in community reinvestment through bill credits. You might recall that a couple of years ago, we did a $300 rebate for our low-income customers, solar systems. We also have disadvantaged community green tariff, community-based solar out here. So there's a project in Dos Palos that you might recall, Mr. Mayor, cutting the ribbon on. That serves another about 1,000 customers in Los Banos with 100% clean energy sources. So when we began service in 2016, our primary focus has really been on being your default electricity provider, maintaining lower rates, and reducing carbon emissions. Since then, and now we are in our 10th year of operations and celebrating 10 years this year, we're really shifting now into doing that, plus really working with our community and our customers to be our partners in making smart investments, smart choices for the homes and businesses in order to lower your rates and switch over to healthier electric investments in your home. The year ahead, as mentioned earlier, we're going to be integrating a battery system at the community center, which will add just resilience and capacity to that existing system. The board in January adopted a 10% rate discount for customers. I want to just be clear that that was an actual 47% discount and a rate reduction that we made at PCE in order to chase PG&E's rates down because they dropped their rates precipitously in January. So we said, yes, we're going to do the same thing, and then we're going to do an additional 10% on top of that. So your customers are going to be saving even more than they did last year when you all were at a 27% to 29% discount. So just making you aware that those rate savings are meaningful. We are going to be rolling out a new solar plus storage program for our residential customers. And then we have a new local partnership here in town with Binational of Central California. And they received a $40,000 grant to support community outreach in Spanish-speaking communities to make sure that those customers are aware of all the different discounts and special programs that those customers can tap into. So we're excited about that new partnership. And then last couple of slides here, I just want to give you all a heads up, and Mayor Amabel's well aware of this because he's served on our marketing and naming committee, that coming soon, Peninsula Clean Energy is going to rebrand and rename itself to be more inclusive of a service territory that serves more than the peninsula. And so the board adopted a new name called Westlight Energy that will be coming to you in June. Customers will begin seeing that on their bill starting in July, August. So the really important message here is that it's the same agency, same people, same products and services, a great new chapter marking our 10-year anniversary, and just really wanted to make sure that we have a name that is representative of our whole territory. So that's coming to you in the summer. Our ask tonight is that you have on your consent agenda a JPA amendment. We are required to do that by law. That basically adopts the new name and so that we can change it in our formation documents. We are also asking and perhaps working with your staff team to help us clearly communicate the name change to our customers. so they understand that this is not a new company, it is not a new charge, it is not an additional charge. Actually, it is replacing PCE. And then help us, we'll do certain community events with Viri's help in town to mark our 10-year anniversary. So that will conclude my remarks. I do just want to say thank you for having us. Look forward to coming back and here to answer any questions.
Any questions for Sean? Well, I just want to say thank you on behalf of our community and all the communities Peninsula Clean Energy serves, because I do enjoy being on your board. I enjoy your leadership. You have a fantastic staff and associates you work with. And I can really tell everybody really cares about their position and their job and what they're meant to provide to the communities. And that's under your leadership, and I want to thank you.
Thank you.
For all that.
Thank you. I'm
So
honored
thank you for
that.
being here this evening, and I'm
You
sure
bet.
we'll get up you to the JPA amendment.
Enjoy the rest of the evening. Good to see
Thank
you.
you. Good to see you too.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll go to our public forum. Members of the public may address this council on any items of public interest that's within the jurisdiction of our city council. This includes agenda and non-agenda items. No action will be taken on non-agenda items. Speakers will be limited to 5 minutes. I will give opportunity to speak on items that are on our agenda, so if you want to wait and once we reach those items and speak, or you can speak at the public forum, it's up to you. And we'll start off with our supervisor, Mr. Silvera.
Thank you, Mayor and council members, city manager. Just a little bit of exciting news I want to share with you. We don't have final details as far as a date yet, but something long I've been asking for at the county is if you're a resident on the west side of Merced County and you need simple things like a copy of your birth certificate, a copy of your marriage certificate, death certificate, some filing a fictitious business name, you have to travel all the way to Merced on that. And so in the process now, working with the auditor, controller, recorder's office in securing it's, I guess I was talking with the city clerk a little bit earlier. Back some years ago, they used to do it. The rules around it have changed. The equipment that they print those copies of official copies of your birth certificates and whatnot on, it's a very specialized piece of equipment. It has to be locked. You can't let anybody have access to those, and you could probably see the reason why. So as we're securing that equipment over the next coming weeks, we're going to start a pilot program. Originally, it's going to start out with 1 day a month to where, and we've settled on a location. It's actually going to be at the Spring Fairgrounds at 403 F Street. When we have more details exactly when the date is, what day of the week it's going to be, I would definitely come back and share that with the council and then ask you folks to help share the word, to get the word out there that that service is now kind of available on the west side. And really, it's going to be dictated by are people actually using it? If people are actually using it, we could see this grow into something where I could see it being offered multiple days a week on the regular basis, right? So I also want to say, I think that's kind of exciting news for our West Side residents. I know that there's services online out there that you're able to acquire those from at the state level, but nearly at double the cost of what you would pay if you just went into the recorder's office. So exciting news on that front, and I look forward to coming back and sharing with you when we have an exact date that it's going to go live. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for the update, and that's good news. Anyone else, please come forward. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, City staff, and my fellow residents. I want to talk a little bit about the incident that occurred this past week regarding the hazardous incident. There was a lot of information, and unfortunately, there was a lot of misinformation because of the gaps in information that wasn't centralized. Hopefully, there has been discussion about identifying these gaps and how to mitigate, and so that in the future, because again, it's not if and when, but when another emergency will happen. So then our citizens are well informed, because often it isn't so much the incident causes harm, but the reaction to it. And it's very important that our residents, citizens, get the information in a timely manner and that it's accurate so that we avoid hysteria, panic, which also causes unnecessary injury or damage. One of those things that I like to talk about, and I've talked about it in the past, is the CERT, the Community Emergency Response Team. This is a federal program. There's training already established. I was part of the CERT for Santa Clara County for many years. They help and assist and aid our first responders in providing information, providing search and rescue, responding to incidents such as this by providing coordinate areas, et cetera. Again, a lot of this information and training is already available through FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. So again, I hope that you will look into it because they provide training in fire safety, search and rescue, team organization, disaster and medical response. So again, there's a lot of ability for us to grow our infrastructure as regards to mitigating incidents such as we had. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Welcome.
Thank you. Mayor Annabelle, council members, good evening. I want to talk about item 13 on tonight's agenda about council pay. To me, it's simple. Public office is a privilege. It's not a way to earn extra money. I want to say that one more time. Public office is a privilege. It's not a way to earn extra money. Tonight, it seems like we're focusing on the wrong thing. There's no clear reason given for a raise other than the fact that the council can give itself one. Seeing this on the agenda is disappointing and quite honestly feels out of touch with what we, the people, expect. The council sitting here tonight is here because the voters said no this past election. No to lavish pay, no to taking power away from the people, no to how city staff are treated, and no to a leadership that put this city at risk. People want leadership with a clear plan, a plan for smart economic growth, responsible development, and good land use. That's what the people want to hear about, not how much more council members should or want to get paid. So I have a few questions. Which of you, Deborah, Marcus, Mike, Mitzi, which of you thought it was a good idea to put this item on the agenda? I find it hard to believe staff brought it up, especially after the recent Pinero city manager fiasco and the big multi-million-dollar payout that us, the taxpayers, are footing the bill for. Is this really the time to ask for a raise? Do you have a clear plan for the city's future? Are you leading or just reacting? How have each of you earned a raise of almost $1,300 plus benefits? Why is the mayor the only one that will receive the increase immediately, as I understood it from the policy memo, if approved, and the rest will wait until the next election cycle? Why was this item placed at the end of the agenda when viewership drops, as we know, and most audiences head home because they have to be up first thing early morning, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, for that next 2-hour road trip? If the idea is to hire the pay to get more people to run for office, I strongly disagree with that thought. Money should never be the reason someone pursues public office, period. The report also says the mayor could get extra pay on top of council pay. What is that amount and why? We, the people, deserve a clear explanation so the public understands what we are paying for. I'm asking for a roll call vote so we, the people, know exactly how each of you stand on this item. For the record, because we deserve to know. And just out of curiosity, what other benefits, stipends, per diems, or allowances do council members and the mayor get, either from this city or other agencies? The public deserves the full picture. Again, that wasn't included in the policy memo report and the agenda packet. I did a quick search. I went to publicpay.ca.gov, and in there it states, the mayor gets a total retirement and health care contribution of $31,281. A council member retirement health care contribution of $29,000. Another one, $14,000. And the last two, between $600 and $700, and that's not including the pay. After having said this, you have the audacity to sit here and ask for a raise. When it comes to our taxpayer dollars, being open, clear, and transparent isn't optional. It's the least we should expect. Let's do better, council. Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll be discussing all that when we reach item 13. Thank you for your comments. Next, please. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Amabil, Mr. Tan, and members of the council. Nathan Alonzo from Pacific Gas and Electric, your local government affairs contact with our company. Just wanted to come before you here tonight to say hello and to also bring your attention to an item that I will be sending over the course of the next couple of days, which is a release that our company put out that for now the fifth time in 2 years we are reducing the price per kilowatt hour. This is part of an overall company initiative towards affordability. So when we have our friends from PCE here and everybody's talking about affordability, everybody wins. So I look forward to coming back later on this year, maybe to give a more comprehensive presentation about our work in the community, our investment in our footprint here in Los Banos, and some of the other things that we have in support of all of our neighbors here in Los Banos. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else, please come forward.
Looks like it says Deo. I was going to come up here and sing. I just want to know, I want to speak on one of the items, but you said you're going to have a forum. So I just want to make sure that you are for item number 12. It doesn't say that there's a public input, but you said you were going to talk.
Yes.
You are? Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I
If
needed
you
to
want to
check.
talk now, you can, or you can wait till 12.
Oh, no, I like to, it's better
Okay.
at the point.
Okay, thank you.
Ooh, today's in a 2 meetings in a row. My name's Javier Powell. I'm here representing the Milliken Museum. I'd like to report that our 8th annual Charles Sawyer Lecture Series, which was last week, went off without a hitch. It was actually really great. We had our World War posters out there, which many of them are over 100 years old now, since many of them are from World War I. And we haven't had those out for, I believe, about 60, 50 years. So that was a really great event to have. And there is a YouTube video now online with all the lectures that were done about Los Banos veterans. I honestly recommend you guys give it a view. There's some pretty cool stories in there, including that of Paul Setner, who hasn't really been put out there that much. But I'm also here to report that this week on Friday, I know it's in a couple of days from now, will be our Arbor Day breakfast. This is our main fundraiser at the museum. The lecture series is more of a community service we like to do in honor of Charles Sawyer. This one is more of fundraising for our local museum. It's $10 for a breakfast consisting of hams, eggs, pancakes, and your choice of coffee or juice. You can have it to go. You can stay there and dine in. We will be having our TV again this year with photos from Los Banos throughout the years, and our photo archive is pretty extensive. It'll be from 7 to 10 a.m., so there's about 3 hours to catch it. Hopefully you guys do. Again, that's $10 for a ticket, and each ticket gets you a pretty good portion of food, and I'm not sure you can find breakfast for anywhere else cheaper at this point. But yeah, that's our main fundraiser. I hope to see you all there and learn more about local history. Have a great day.
And I heard Paul Loeffler loud and clear that Los Banos is the center of the universe.
The center of the universe.
Yep, so that's going to be
Mayor?
our new tagline.
Could you have him indicate where the pancake breakfast is going to be? I don't think
Yeah,
he
it's
said.
going to be at Miller and Lux, right, Javier?
It'll be at the community center.
Oh, community center. It's at the community center. Thank you. Anyone else, please come forward.
Good
Welcome.
evening, everyone. My name is Blanche George, and I live in the downtown area. I wanted to follow up with a request that I had, a thought that I had, and it's just, it is being allowed to be able to add a poster to the airport where the pilots fly in and out their lounge area. And what it is the thought of individuals being able to, those pilots deciding to go ahead and take a hitchhiker, which is an animal, out of our shelter. What that would entail is that they would call the number, the phone number. There would be, there's several employees that are eager to get those phone calls. They will call the rescue to wherever the pilot is going to make arrangements for the rescue to go ahead and to meet that pilot at their airport, and then to, of course, have the dog being adopted from the rescue. So I would really appreciate that consideration. I don't know who the decision maker is. I've have positive feedbacks all the time. Another point I really want to make briefly is that with the animals, while the staff is so amazing, and I had such a beautiful experience last week, and there'll be more discussion on that, but those individuals work so hard. They dedicate themselves, and they really now push rescues. The rescues are ready for kitten season and puppy season. We're all scared of that right now, but we're ready. When it comes to adoptions, while the staff works hard, our situation nationwide is not going to be all-end adoption. It's going to be encouraging with the spay and neutering. It's going to be with trap, neuter, return, plus M, which is manage. All of that is going to be really crucial in order to tap down the population and to get it under control. You guys are vital for funding with something like that. And there'll be more talk about that soon. But what you guys have done so far and continue to do, congratulations. There's some wonderful things that are going on. Just a little tidbit. One of the things when I do go out and I get a call that a resident wants some help with an animal, I go ahead and counsel them. I walk them through the process. They get educated about the feeding and scheduling and what the process is. All of that is so wonderful for the resident to know. Not just going and relieving the problem, but with education. And that is all free of helping out our community. So I just wanted to go ahead and just let you guys know that, that there are some wonderful things. One last, since I have one more minute, one last thing is that I know that we need vets, and we've spoken about that. One of the important things is that, and I've learned this from your economic developer, Stacy. Stacy went to, and after listening, she went ahead and went to a meeting or to a conference and asked. And sure enough, there now are veterinarians that will be investing and want to invest in shopping centers. We've got plenty of shopping centers. What I did actually also find out about that was I then, after being so excited about her news, shopping center owners want to give benefits to any veterinarian that wants to move into their space, because it's going to be an anchor. And anchors in shopping centers are really crucial for growth of that shopping center, which means also tax dollars for our community, then trickles down to budget, and then trickles down, I think, to the animals. So all in all, I just want to, just play a little bit with this, but there was some beautiful things that have been going on these past few months and years, and I really appreciate it. All of you guys are just driving it forward. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Blanche. Anyone else, please come forward. You're welcome to come forward.
I promised
Welcome.
I'd come today, but I didn't expect to have these two today while my wife's teaching a class right now. So anyways, I'm Miguel Alejandre, High Council, Mayor, City staff. I came just mainly to ask for the city and county to work together in making a public awareness campaign about the emergency response. How a lot of people, they weren't alerted on time, or there was issues with it. And yeah, just mainly because they're right next to Kagome is the senior housing. And a lot of seniors reached out to me and told me that they weren't feeling good. Not sure if it was for that, but they said it was because of that. And also because I live right next to it, so I would prefer being alerted as well. I wasn't signed up. I signed up afterwards. Well, tried to. I had I had issues. And I talked to two CAL FIRE firefighters yesterday after the Board of Supervisors meeting. Sorry, they're heavy. And yeah, they said that they're going to work out through the bugs. But now it's just getting the people aware. The people of Los Banos and Dos Palos, all the county aware of all the stuff that goes on. But usually, so sorry about that. Usually it's until it's too late where people get notified, like with Plum Nada and DP with the floods, and that's when they start signing up. But anyways, yeah, thank you very much and have a beautiful evening.
Thank you. And Chief's going to be giving a report at the end of the evening. Thank you for your comments, and I admire you. Bring on up there. Anyone else who'd like to speak, please come forward. Anyone else? Okay, I appreciate everybody that spoke, and we can hear you, and we hear you loud and clear. And now, is there any letters, Lucy, that, could you read off the one letter we did receive?
Good evening. I am writing today to raise concerns about the recent ammonia leak and the breakdown in public safety protocols that followed. While I surely appreciate the efforts of emergency responders and pray they remain safe always, several critical failures must be addressed for the safety of our community if other types of public emergencies should occur in the future. First, the county's emergency notification system failed to notify residents in a timely manner. The system was recently changed, but residents were not informed that they needed to create new accounts. Many registered users did not receive alerts, leaving residents to learn about the situation through social media at least an hour after the leak was first reported. Why was the public not informed of the system change prior? And why was no backup method used to alert the community? Additionally, the delay in issuing a public warning left residents exposed to harmful fumes. The Los Banos Fire Department was contacted and I assume responded immediately at 5:30 a.m., but residents didn't learn about the danger until 6:30 a.m. after the fumes had already entered homes. Why was there a delay between the initial response and the public alert? The confusion compounded with conflicting messages from the Los Banos Unified School District, Eric Sowersby, Director of Elementary Education, via the Parents app, said schools were open and accepting students. While the director gave the green light for schools to remain open, Principal Hicks at Lorena Velasco Elementary, which was closest to the leak site, initially announced that the school was closed, only to delete the post very shortly after. This lack of clear, consistent messaging caused unnecessary panic. Why was the decision to open schools made before the shelter-in-place order was lifted? The shelter-in-place order was lifted around 10:30 a.m. by the Los Banos Police Department, according to a Facebook post. Will an after-action report be made public? And most importantly, what steps are being taken to ensure that a situation like this is never repeated? Thank you for your time and attention to these concerns. Julie Creighton.
Okay, we want to thank you for that letter, Julie. And is there anything else? Julie's just the one letter?
No, that's the one.
Okay, thank you for reading that off. Now we'll go on to item H, which is consideration of approval of the consent agenda. And Lucy, I'm going to go back to you if you could read off the consent agenda, please.
Okay, items on the consent agenda are as follows. Warrant numbers 256355 through 256557 in the amount of $2,119,303.15. City Council meeting minutes for February 18th, 2026. City Council Resolution Number 7054, approving the purchase of a code enforcement vehicle in the amount of $36,979.20 from Winter Chevrolet Elk Grove Auto Group through the State of California contract number 1-22-23-23D. City Council Resolution Number 7055, authorizing the city manager to execute amendment to the existing cooperative procurement agreement with Axon Enterprises, Inc. for the addition of Fleet 3 in-car cameras to the police department's existing Axon system in the amount of $69,517.74 annually. City Council Resolution Number 7056, authorizing the purchase of one Fouts Fire 4 mini pumper in the amount of $433,836.38 from Fire Apparatus Solutions. City Council Resolution Number 7057, approving and authorizing the mayor to execute an administrative amendment to paragraph 2.2 of the Peninsula Clean Energy Joint Powers Agreement, reflecting the name change from Peninsula Clean Energy to Westlight Energy. City Council Resolution Number 7058, approving and authorizing the city manager to execute the First Amendment to the Professional Services Agreement with Munitents Government Staffing Services, Inc. to increase the total not to exceed compensation amount from $30,000 to $150,000. And the items are to be approved as submitted.
Thank you, Lucy. And before we turn it to the council, is there any item from A to G that any of the people out in the audience would like to speak about before we take any action? Okay, not seeing or hearing anyone coming forward, I'll turn it to the city council. Is there any item you would like to pull off or you'd like to approve as submitted? Then if we could have a motion, please.
Yeah, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Okay, we have a motion and second as stated. Any further questions or comments from the council? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. And now we'll go to a public hearing. Item 9, if you challenge the proposed action as described herein to the court, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at a public hearing described within or written correspondence delivered to the city at or prior to the public hearing. Our first item of public hearing is to receive public comment and consideration of approval of a final map plan 2025-01, the Overland Trail subdivision. This is a Stonefield Home Incorporated. And with this, the next item is, the next item is Resolution 7059, approving the final development plan of 2025-01 for the Overland Trail subdivision, Stonefield Home Incorporated. And with this, we'll go to our Community and Economics Director, Souza Elms. Stacy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. So this project, just a bit of an overview for you. The plan finalizes the Mission Village Estates development. This is the last infill parcel of that original development, which is for 50 single-family residential lots on 7.81 acres. The lots and zoning, they range between over 3,700 square feet to over 10,000 square feet. So various lot sizes in the medium density zoning district. And the design flexibility, it proposes a request for rolled curbs instead of the standard vertical curbs, and using the final development plan as that mechanism to provide that flexibility from the city standards. This is the location of the project. It's located east of Mercy Springs Road, south of Mission Drive, and north of Wilmot Avenue. This is an infill development, which it's consistent with the surrounding residential character. So this is just west of Grasslands Elementary. You can see Grasslands on the very right-hand side of the frame of that photo, of that aerial photo. And it's just south of Overland and where the new 7-Eleven and Starbucks are located. According to CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act, this project was previously evaluated in the Mission Village and Mission Estates subdivision under mitigated negative declaration state clearinghouse number 20010211115, which was approved back in July of 2001 by the city of Los Banos. No new or more severe impacts have been identified through this proposal. And the project remains consistent with the environmental analysis already completed. The project design, the intent of the final development plan is to provide a diverse selection of production homes positioned on a wide range of lot sizes with varying widths. It includes 21 elevation styles to ensure differentiation among homes for visual interest and cohesion with surrounding phases. All homes include 2-car garages, and the net density is 8.96 dwelling units per net acre. The final development plan, with that application, the applicant is requesting the use of rolled curb throughout the subdivision. The city has conditioned the vesting tentative map, which was approved with the Planning Commission, for the use of rolled curb to only be allowed at the driveway approaches. Staff is concerned this may encourage vehicle parking on sidewalks. With the rolled curb, we tend to see 2 wheels parked up on the sidewalk throughout some of our existing areas that have rolled curb within the front yards. And we're also concerned about vehicle conflicts with infrastructure such as hydrants and streetlights. So as conditioned with the vesting tentative map, staff is requesting that the rolled curb is limited to driveway frontage areas only, and all remaining curb within the subdivision is required to be standard 6-inch vertical curb. So this at the driveway, you would have the rolled curb, and that would eliminate that apron of the dip at the approach. This would just be then a solid straight sidewalk because there would be rolled curb at that approach. These are examples of the architectural styles that are included within the final development plan. It has an early California, California coastal, and California rustic, so all very kind of contemporary architecture. These variations help avoid repetition, so there's 21 different elevations, and this helps eliminate repetition, enhance the long-term neighborhood character within this subdivision. Here are other examples. This is a 1,600 square foot and 2,000 square foot example. So there's various single-story and 2-story elevations. And as you can see, each elevation has an enhancement, whether it's stone veneer, it could be siding, or a mixture of both within those elevations. It also breaks up the massing of the elevations with window trims and various paint colors. So the circulation access to the development is provided from Wilmot Avenue and Mission Drive. The subdivision does have 3 local streets with a 52-foot right-of-way, which is 1 travel lane in each direction, a 5-foot sidewalk, and they're proposing rolled curb throughout the entire subdivision. But as I stated, staff is proposing through the conditions of approval with the vesting map that the driveway approaches would be the only location with the rolled curb. And Street A will connect Mission Drive and Wilmot Avenue. So that's the north and south connector within this subdivision that connects Mission and Wilmot. And then there is a secondary access off of Mission Drive, but Wilmot will be the primary entrance into the subdivision. At Wilmot and State Route 165 intersection, Caltrans has initiated a controlled intersection improvements due to safety. So Caltrans conducted a study at that intersection, and then also, so it met warrant for needing a controlled intersection, and then they evaluated the signal versus roundabout and determined that the roundabout was the recommended alternative. Caltrans is in the design phase with District 10 operations team, and the project is slated to begin and be ready for build July 2028. So that's when the design will be completed. It'll go out to bid, and they're hoping that construction would be completed in 2029. Subsequently, a commercial development was approved on the northeast corner of Wilmot and 165. And a mitigation measure was required, which required that project to install a temporary roundabout until Caltrans installs the permanent roundabout project. The applicant is working with Caltrans currently, and they've had various meetings that the city has been included in just to keep us in the loop with Caltrans through that encroachment permit process. The temporary roundabout is anticipated to be installed by the commercial development in summer of 2027. So this is the infrastructure that is proposed within the final development plan. Water and sewer will connect through Mission Drive and Wilmot Avenue to existing infrastructure that's there, and drainage will connect to Wilmot Avenue. All utilities have been accounted for in the city's utility master plans. This project was presented to the project review board in March of 2024, and then to the design review, which is a study session with the Planning Commission in March of 2024, and then to the project review board in October of 2025. And at that time, staff provided feedback, which has been incorporated into the final design and into the conditions of approval. Public hearing notices were published in the West Side Express and mailed to a 300-foot radius on February 18th, 2026. And as of the date of the staff report and of this presentation, no comments have been received by the public. So staff is recommending that the City Council would consider adopting Resolution 7059 approving Final Development Plan number 2025-01 for Overland Trail subdivision for the development of 7.8 acres into 50 single-family residential lots located east of Mercy Springs Road, south of Mission Drive, and north of Wilmot Avenue, subject to the conditions of approval. And that concludes my presentation. I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Stacy. So at this time, I'd like to open up the public hearing for Final Development Plan 2025-01 for the Overland Trails subdivision, Stonefield Home Incorporated. Anyone that would like to speak on this item, please come forward to the podium at this time. Welcome again.
Hi, Kathy Ballard, I'm resident of Los Banos. I just have two questions. When you say CEQA, I don't know everything that's involved in that, but does it take into consideration that the only school that's out there is Grasslands, which has no openings and has a waiting list to go to that school? I don't know if your CEQA takes that into account. Also, I've never seen I know I've seen rolled curbs in other cities. I've never seen rolled with square. Does that affect anything with drainage or how the water flows to the storm drains? Only because one is, I don't know. I just want to know if it affects that. I've never seen them together. Do we have them?
We have the
We have them here in the city?
Yeah, we'll answer your question.
Okay.
in the public hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you. Anyone else, please come forward. Welcome.
Hi, Mark Trico, I'm a resident. I just want to make sure that the fire department and the city council has been making sure that the access egress to this new subdivision is a lot better improvement than the stuff that's out there behind the Ford dealership, south of the Ford dealership, south of the Sinclair. Several of those subdivisions were completed. and are horrible. Fire access and egress is diminished because you cannot even get the fire truck barely past some of the parked vehicles because the lanes were not made wide enough. I see your thing said 53 feet. That may be wide enough. However, I don't know if that's what they did over at those subdivisions, just the vehicles parking on the sides of the road. Do not allow two vehicles to pass each other, which actually should make that a subdivision that's not feasible, because access egress is your biggest issue for your fire department and your police department. Therefore, if those areas have not been widened and considered for vehicles parking on the side and two vehicles still being able to pass, needs to be enhanced, because that is a necessity of all of our cities. Access and egress is number one. You want to get people out fast, you got to have the room for them to pass each other. Those streets over there, downright dangerous. You put in a evacuation plan over in those subdivisions, guarantee you, you're going to get a lot of accidents, and it's going to look like the Oakland Hills fire. Bunch of abandoned cars in the middle of the road and a bunch of dead people. So I've been to the worst of them, I've been to the best of them, and access egress needs to be your number one issue when you're building a new subdivision, if not your water supply and all that. So it's something I think you need to think.
Thank you very much. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members, city staff. Thank you for that presentation. The presentation got me thinking a little bit about, Erasmo Viveros, resident of Los Banos. The presentation got me thinking a little bit about, the development and the progression of Los Banos and its housing. Los Banos has seen enough development over the last 25, 30 years for city staff, for residents to say, hey, we know what we like and we know what we don't want to see again in future development. So when the planning director and economic development director was given the presentation, the one thing that came to mind, and this is not a question that can be answered here, but do we have a list of types of homes developments that we don't want to see a repeat of in the future? Talking about some roadways where they're too narrow, and we realize now that just doesn't work for the type of parking because there's multi-generational housing in some of these throughout our community, frankly. ADUs is another one. Do we have enough sufficient parking? All these things. And I know some of it's mandated for city staff to consider, but I'm just thinking we have enough lessons learned in Los Banos to say, let's not repeat this again. Personally, I look around, I look at Stone Creek. Every time I park there, get my coffee, I look at all the different type of materials that we have: wood, stucco, stone, and it's been, I don't know what, 15, 20 years probably since it's been there. And it still looks relevant. It looks tastefully done. And then I know when we had a conversation during a potential appointment to Plan Commission, I was talking about how Home Depot looks very sparse, empty. It just doesn't flow nicely. So I think it'd be really relevant to the city, to the community, to people who are looking to come here, not to have a repeat of what doesn't work for Los Banos. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else, please come forward.
Yes, Blanche George, downtown Los Banos. I just want to say I love the look of the homes, and you kind of know that because I live in an early Americana home, and that looks so nice being broken up. With that being said, again, I've mentioned this before, and I'd like a consideration, because these 50 homes will approximately have anywhere from 4 to 5 pets in them. That's a minimum of 200 pets with this. And I'd like to see personally, and I think that we can achieve it, of having a subdivision that has amenities that homeowners can purchase and check off the box that they want that. And let me express and people would pay for these individuals to build, is including a built-in dog wash station or mudrooms. Additionally, the cabinets for feeding stations, and underneath the stairway for there to be a area where there could be kennels. And these individuals would pay for that amenities. I know that when you purchase a home, a new home, you could check off certain things that you want. And this would just make it much more friendlier, very unique for the subdivision. It is happening in Southern California, and it would be wonderful to have it in Los Banos. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else, please come forward. You're welcome to speak.
Mr. Mayor, council, staff, good evening again. Again, just echoing some of the concerns about
Yeah.
Refugio Llamas.
Yeah, we have to now have it recorded. That's
Okay.
why we're asking all the time now.
Okay. You got me off track.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Regarding the egress of the emergency vehicles, ensuring that there's plenty of room for those vehicles to navigate those streets and respond to emergencies. Also, the offset from the home to the sidewalk, sometimes they're very, very close. And again, sometimes that reduces property values in the long run because people just don't want to be that close to the road. Another concern, I had a couple of residents reach out to me to ask, is there a park? What is the nearest park? I wasn't paying attention, I'm sorry, during your presentation. What's the nearest park for that development? So that's some of the questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Please come forward. Welcome. Please state your name.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Matthew Rogers. I'm with Benchmark Engineering, the engineering firm in charge of developing this site. I'm here to answer some of the questions the residents have as well. First off, I'd like to say thank you, Stacy, for your presentation. It's very thorough. We worked very hard with staff to come to a product that we think the city of Los Banos would enjoy, following the city standards and taking all their accounts in these development meetings. First question I would like to address would be the emergency access. So our streets are wide enough to allow for the dual parking. There should be 20 feet between the two parking stalls. It's a total of 18 feet from or 36 feet from curb to curb, flow line.
Please face the council.
Sorry.
It's okay.
And so we believe that that's going to provide enough space for parking on both sides of the street, as well as 20 feet of travel lane. To put that in perspective, a highway lane width is usually around 12 feet. And so we believe that would be sufficient travel way for that. There were questions about the drainage for the transitions for the curb. What we do in those transitions is we keep the flow line consistent. And so all the water would follow that flow. And the curb, the back of curb and top face of curb are the ones that do the transition. I don't want to get too much into that and run out of time. There was a question about the school. I know that is a big concern for a lot of the citizens of Los Banos, and that there are talks with the school district and for finding suitable locations to kind of expand that. Sorry, I'm trying to, I have glasses on my head, sorry. Accessibility, types of home architecture. Stonefield Home, we the ones building this product, and they are keeping in mind consistent with the city's standards in the home development and the style of the homes. As we know, the building code always changes, and so there's always things that be added onto and managed. And so they are very cognizant of that and are doing their best to work with the city and potential home buyers to create a product that everybody would find pleasing. As far as the amenities for pets, that's always an option available to the home buyer. I know this had come up in a previous discussion we had before, and that's something that Stonefield Home is aware of and that they can easily be worked out with in home buying. I think I got everything. If I didn't, I apologize. Does City Council have any questions that I may answer?
We'll ask our questions after the public hearing is closed.
Okay, so I won't have will I have ability to come and answer those, or?
If it's needed, yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool. I think that's everything. I hope I didn't leave anybody out. If I did, I apologize. Oh, setbacks. Sorry, it was written on. There is 2 feet of separation from the back of walk to the property line, and from the property line, it is a 20-foot setback to the garage. So ultimately, you would have about 22 feet minimum from the face of the garage to the back of the sidewalk. That should be sufficient parking space for the biggest of trucks. Well, the biggest commercial vehicles available for residents to drive. I believe that's it, and I will be back if there's questions. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else, please come forward. We welcome you. Please state your name for the record.
Hi, Miguel Alejandre, without kids now. Thank you for having me. So I work in heating and cooling, so I think a lot how hot it is around here. Something that I feel like has never been talked about or spoken about here is, could we maybe choose different, instead of using asphalt, maybe use concrete? I know the lifespan for concrete is a lot more, so reparations wouldn't have to be done as much. I know the initial cost is a little more, but that way it keeps the, I guess, roads cooler, and even for pets, animals, it's cooler on their feet when you want to walk your dog in the summer. To something different besides just maybe using trees and stuff like that. But yeah, that's one thing I've never heard anyone really talk about, if that could be used for new homes, new builds, new streets, using concrete, something that's a little cooler than asphalt. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Please come forward. You're welcome to speak. Okay, I do not see or hear anyone coming forward, so I'll go ahead, close the public hearing. I do appreciate everyone that spoke. And now I'll turn it back to Stacy before the council asks any questions. Let's talk about the streets first, compared to the streets that we're compared with.
Yes.
So how much, I know these are wider streets. I don't know exactly the width of those smaller streets.
Yes, so in those areas, at the time that those developments came in, that was a 32-foot right-of-way, where as you saw in the presentation, the right-of-way is 52 feet, so much wider. We have now a design bulletin in place, which, while our city manager was our public works director, where we widened the streets so that new developments coming in would have to meet that standard. And this will definitely exceed what is out behind Walmart and Target area.
Okay, maybe talk a little bit about CEQA.
Yes. So CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act, schools are taken into account. Public facilities are analyzed. All public facilities, including also police and fire, are also analyzed. And in this particular environmental document, it was mitigatable. So it was a mitigated negative declaration. So what it said under public facilities is that they would be mitigated by paying impact fees and paying the appropriate mitigation fees for the school district. So that is how it addressed schools, but also, as the applicant stated, they are looking at expanding school sites with the school district as well.
I know we do have roll curbs in some areas. Actually, where I live, there's a roll curb just a couple blocks away.
Yes, in some of the presidential area, there are, there's presidential, there's also state streets have rolled curbs. So we do have examples in town. And then where that transition between rolled and vertical come into place, you can see where that transition happens. Now, this will be new and different for us, and this will be the pilot program. But we felt it was a compromise. We understood the applicant's request. We understood the aesthetics of the subdivision and having that even sidewalks. You're not having that dip with the aprons of the driveway approaches. And so taking that into consideration, really tried to come up with a unique compromise, understanding both sides, staff's concern about infrastructure and parking on sidewalks, but also understanding the aesthetics that the applicant was desiring to have within the subdivision.
I want to add one thing to it, because I'm negotiating with Caltrans in front of my business right now, and I have a brand new driveway with regular curbs. They're taking that out because that little bit of a dip does not follow ADA standards anymore.
Right.
So I think in the future, you might see more of a rolled curb so you can keep one level with it. That's going to be required, I think, in the future. I just wanted to add that. And we had questions about learning from subdivisions of the past and what we're doing about our new design standards. And we're really
Yes.
working hard on this stuff.
We
So
are.
let's talk about it.
About a roll curb would be where people will drive right up onto that curb and they won't know they're hitting something.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you can't speak. Yeah,
So-
but you're right. We think about that.
Yes, we are updating our community design standards, so great comments. And we're visually putting within those design standards examples of what we do not want to see and what we desire to see. So it's very visual of what that expectation is. But I also want to just have the council understand and note that also the city is required to not be subjective in our design standards. The state of California has said that jurisdictions have become prohibitive by using their design standards in prohibiting housing development. And because of the housing crisis in California, we are bound by serious criteria of what we can and cannot require of residential development. But we can always encourage, and we've set the standard we're setting it within our new community design standards, which you should be seeing soon, come before the city council, be going to the planning commission, hopefully sometime in April, and then hopefully to the city council in May on those community design standards. So those are in the works.
And we just updated our building standards 2 months ago by the state. And I also want to just state too that I meet with the developers that are building in our town all the time. And as Stacy said, we can't require certain things, but they're gracious enough to ask, what does this council want? And that's where I talk about smaller homes, less square footage, more affordable homes, good-looking, good homes, but more affordable, and the design, the looks, not all looking the same. And so we're passing those messages on personally to the design. And then let's talk about parks.
So Director Heim has put together, just real quickly, where the closest parks are. So Joe, would you be able to provide that?
Yeah, so there are 2 parks under a half mile away, although one you do have to cross the highway on, which is something that, it's a big concern on in terms of really counting that one. That would be Davis Park, which is 0.3 miles away. It's basically just across the way. But the other one that's 0.5 miles away is Regency Lot D Park. There's also Regency Tot Lot and Skylark Park, which are just past that. They're 0.6 and 0.7 miles away. And then Talbot, Verona, Sunrise Ranch, those are all in about the plus or minus mile range. I think the challenge with this particular location is it's a small space to try to fit a pocket park into. I do think with the 0.5 mile, you have a walkable distance to it's Regency Lot D is probably about a 6-acre park. It's got a basketball court and 2 playgrounds. So, I think on that end, it's sufficient in that way. I know that it was also mentioned that grasslands, I know they don't necessarily open their outfield space there, but there is some green space there as well nearby with the school.
Thank you, Joe. And Stacy, did you write anything else down? I think that covered everything.
The use of concrete versus asphalt.
yes.
I did want to state that is within the city's standards and specifications, which designates what materials can be used. So this subdivision is vested within those rights of the city's current city standards. And I don't think it would be our practice or the practice of other jurisdictions because of the cost of asphalt versus concrete.
Yes, that's correct. The concrete does, if it's structured correctly, it does last longer. But if you have to make any repairs to water lines, sewer lines, storm lines, now you have to cut concrete. to get back down to what we're trying to get to. And it's a lot more durable material, so it's a lot more difficult to cut into that and remove it. And then when you replace it, then you have to replace it with concrete, so you don't have a strip of asphalt. The cost of asphalt is less also for the repairs and for the initial construction.
Yeah, it becomes affordable issue with affordability issue with the housing too, 'cause I'm sure. And this is how the council looks at everything. It's sure we want everything gold plated, but we also want the homes affordable. And I bet you concrete would probably add $10,000 to $20,000 a home.
Right,
If you
which
put all that concrete
gets
in front of it.
passed
So,
on.
I mean, is that what we want? Do we want the houses to cost that much more? So it's a juggle. You have to figure all this out, and that's what we're doing up here. And I just want to talk about parks real fast. I've said this in the past. Personally, we have park fees, and everybody pays park fees, and this subdivision will pay a park fee per home that goes into the park fee fund to help us with big parks, other parks. And personally, I am going towards smaller pocket parks in subdivisions and saving some of that money to go to regional parks now. We have soccer stadiums, I mean, it's not stadiums, the soccer parks and fields, and be able to have large areas where people can exercise and people can have sports. I think today's time, you have grandparents walking the children because both spouses have to work these days. It's a lot different than 30, 40 years ago when everybody had these giant parks all over the place. So that's how I'm sort of turning towards parks. But I want to just say that again. So with that, you have anything else, Stacy?
Nope, I think we
Okay.
covered all
So with
of
that,
it.
I'll turn it to the city council for questions or comments to staff or the applicant.
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to, well, first of all, make a comment in regards to the narrower streets. Before the recession back in 08, 09, it was a trend throughout California to build more narrow streets because you would have single families in a home rather than multiple families. And after the recession in California, everything became so expensive that it takes sometimes multiple families to live in one house in order to be able to afford it, even if it's a rented house. So we're not the only ones that built those narrow streets. There are a lot of communities within California that did the same thing to make those areas more cozy and amenable to the families, but they become a problem now. So the question I have is, the older streets are 32 feet wide, is that what I heard? And the newer ones are 52 feet wide, is that what I heard, or is it wider?
So correction from Director Vi, it's
The right of way is 52, but the street is 36 itself from curb to curb. So that allows for 8 feet of parking on each side, and you still have 10-foot lanes. So that creates the 20-foot space that fire requires for access.
So that's a requirement for fire. What I want to know is if a fire truck's going down the street, naturally, we're supposed to pull over by law and let them go by. But if we have 2 vehicles traveling down that street, is there going to be enough access without someone feeling like they're going to get their car scraped on the driver's side?
Yes, there should be. If there's cars lining both sides of the street and they're parked, if you meet a fire truck and you pull over as close as you can to one of those parked cars, you're going to take up about 8 feet. A car's generally about 7 feet wide, so you're going to take up about 8 feet, and then that still leaves the fire truck 12 feet, and a fire truck is 8 feet wide, not counting the mirrors sticking out. So that's still gonna leave you 12 feet. It's going to be a tight squeeze, but fire can get through. And if there's 2 cars traveling, as long as they don't stop right next to each other, right, then the fire truck can weave through the stop traffic. That's the purpose of pulling over for fire, so they can weave through where they need to go.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I may add
Sure.
one more things to that. So when we did the standard change, I believe it was at the end of 2022, we did bring it over to Traffic Safety Committee as well as Planning Commissions, and specifically Fire and PD were commenting on those 20 foots like William talked about from park car to park car, those 20-foot was the police and fire requirement. So they should be able to go into each one of those thoroughfare, even be able to make turns, like William said. The standard parking width, which is parallel parking, you've seen some of the really high density area. They usually go to 7. We've actually put it to 8, which allow for, open doors and things like that without impacting the travel way. So that's why that was changed back in 22, 23. Yeah.
I just want to make sure, not only for the safety of our public safety getting into communities, but also just everyday people driving past each other, that there's adequate room without it feeling like, I'm barely making it. The other thing is, in general, I have been in favor of roll curves, and but that with the caveat would be that there would have to be public green space between the street, the sidewalk, and the property. And I believe this subdivision has no green space. So with continuous roll curbs throughout the project, it doesn't mitigate the problem that we have in our community where people are parking additional cars on lawns and things like that. They could just drive right off the street onto grass and space that we want to keep our community elevated and looking nice. So I think that the squared off curb is going to be the answer. And also I think one of our residents had a question about drainage that will also enhance the drainage. I did look at, there was a community not in our area, and where I live, there's also roll curbs in the old garden area. And so I do see vehicles parking on the sidewalk. It's just like they just kind of roll up on the sidewalk because the judgment is not there. So I appreciate the staff thinking through this process. The other thing is that it appears that the ingress egress for the driveway and the sidewalk, there's not going to be that dip. And so I can appreciate that as well, because I see people in my community who are handicapped in wheelchairs, and they have to ride in the street in order to be safe, which is not safe, because your wheelchair can tip over very easily with the ingress egress of the way the standard driveway curb is cut out. And not only that, when you're walking, it's really kind of rough on your hip and your legs and your feet when you're constantly passing a dip, and houses are that close together. So you walk maybe 2 or 3 feet, and then you're in a dip again. And just, for me, when I hit long stretches of sidewalks where there's no ingress and egress, it makes me happy when I'm walking my dog. But those were the 2 things that I had concerns. So within the conditions of approval, it's stated in there that it will be the square curbs with the roll ingress egress.
Yes, the conditions of approval state that the rolled curb would only be allowed at the driveway approaches, and
Yes.
that the rest of the subdivision would be vertical.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Any other questions or from the council? Okay, then before us, we have request for approval, Resolution 7059 for 2025-01 for the Overland Trail subdivision, Stonefield Home Incorporated. How does the council feel on this issue? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 7059 as read by title.
Okay, we have a motion, Resolution 7059 as stated, and a second. Any further questions or comments? Not hearing any, in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much. Thank everybody in the public hearing that spoke, and we will move on. Item number 10, consideration adoption City Council Resolution 7060, approving an application for funding and the execution of a grant agreement up to $3.6 million and any amendments thereto from the 2025 funding year of the State Community Development Block Grant CDBG program for a tiny shelter village. And with this, we'll go back to Stacy.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor and City Council. So I do send Christie's regrets. She has laryngitis. She actually was determined, our housing program manager, to be here tonight to give this presentation. And she's been looking forward to it, and I pretty much had to say, please stay home. We all don't want to be sick. And she needs to rest and get her health back. So Christy did want to be here with us tonight, and hopefully I can give this presentation justice just as she would. So with that being said, tonight we are asking the City Council to consider an application allowing staff to submit an application for Community Development Block Grant for Emergency Tiny Shelter Village. And then we're asking for direction of the location of this emergency shelter. Some background on this item. The California Office of Housing and Community Development, HCD, administers the state of California's annual federal allocation of Community Development Block Grant, CDBG funds, for eligible municipalities. And these are municipalities that are less than 50,000 in population. So those are considered non-entitlement cities. If you're over 50,000, you get a direct allocation from HUD. So you do not need to have your housing funds administered through the state, and it's a direct allocation, but you would need to be over 50,000 population. So the city of Los Banos, we are categorized because we are less than 50,000 as a non-entitlement jurisdiction. That means that we have to compete for any funds that are provided through the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, which is administered through HCD. The CDBG program is designed to assist local governments in improving economic opportunities and meeting community revitalization needs. And this is particularly for persons of low and moderate income. It has to meet that threshold in order to qualify. CDBG Notice of Funding Availability, the NOFA, was released on September 30th for the 2025 CDBG non-entitlement program. And through this NOFA, up to $3.6 million per application is available through a competitive process. Again, we're competing with over 164 cities, and grants must address one of the following national objectives: that it benefit low and moderate income persons, that it aid in the prevention or elimination of slums and blight, or meet an urgent need. And to meet an urgent need, it would need to be an emergency due to an earthquake, wildfire, flood. So something that may have been like an act of God, unpreventable, that is urgent and needs to be addressed right away. There is funding that is set aside for that urgent need. The submission for the CDBG application, the portal opened on February 2nd. I do want to take a step back, though. That HCD released the NOFA on September 30th, and then had said that the portal would be available, would be open at the end of the year in December of 2025, and folks could start applying. Well, they pushed a pause on that for a minute, and then in January notified jurisdictions that the portal would be open February 2nd, and that the application deadline to submit is April 3rd, and that they're anticipating submitting award letters to awarded jurisdictions in September of 2026, and that the expenditure deadline is 2 years and 9 months from the execution of a standard agreement. And those standard agreements, if we are awarded, and hopefully we are, based on hopefully the approval of the City Council tonight for an application, it would still, those execution of those standard agreements would happen in a rolling basis at best case scenario in October of 2026. So still a timely timeline. This doesn't happen with the state overnight. On the CDBG notice of funding availability, the current NOFA states that approximately $27 million in federal funds for the CDBG program is available statewide. But again, only up to $3.6 million can be applied per jurisdiction, and we're competing with lots of other jurisdictions. And HCD has the sole discretion to fund eligible applications on a competitive basis. And this program, this year's program is very competitive and funds are very limited. So the background on this item, back in December, staff presented 4 emergency shelter solutions to the City Council. And at that meeting, the City Council unanimously directed staff to proceed with the option of development of a tiny shelter village that includes case management services, shower, restroom, and laundry facilities for unhoused people. The City Council also directed staff to pursue grant funding opportunities to support this effort. So the role of emergency shelter, I just want to highlight the importance of this in our community because emergency shelter is an essential element of the city's response to homelessness. Participants in emergency shelter are able to stabilize and better participate in case management. There is a need for emergency shelter to preserve public spaces, address public health and safety issues, and to stabilize people experiencing homelessness. Staff recommends elevating the city's response system with temporary shelter and case management resources and to augment the overall homeless response system as a pathway to permanent housing. So currently, right now, we do have bridge homes. We have 2 bridge homes. One is funded by the City of Los Banos through our PLHA, our Permanent Local Housing Allocation, which is a direct allocation from the state of California, and one is funded through Merced County, through the COC, but through Merced County, and their funds are operating the other bridge home, which in total provides 20 emergency shelter beds within the community. And we know within our current encampment, there's definitely more than 20 tents. And so with the building of One Tree Village, which will have 58 permanent supportive housing units, and the 20 emergency shelter, the bridge homes, the 20 beds that we currently have, there is a gap. And so what this emergency shelter would be doing is providing a sustainable approach to fixing that gap that we have in our system. Recently, within our program, we've had a case that demonstrates the effectiveness of this approach. We had a former encampment resident who accepted emergency shelter, so they went into one of the city's bridge homes and was able to stabilize and enter substance use treatment. They were able to gain secure employment and ultimately obtain permanent housing through a Section 8 voucher. Within 1 year, this person has transitioned from living in the encampment to full-time employment with benefits and now has her own apartment to call home. So this is just an example of why it's so important to have this role of emergency shelter within our system of shelter within the community. So the need assessment, currently, like I stated, the amount of shelter beds in the city of Los Banos is not equal to the amount needed for today's unhoused population. Tents in the encampment are offered as only a temporary solution and have only a useful lifespan of not more than about a year. A long-term emergency shelter solution for these currently unhoused and those at risk of homelessness is needed, and that's where this solution comes into place. The intended use of funds of the CDBG funds, if awarded, would be used to purchase pallet emergency shelter structures through the California statewide contract, number 1-23-54-01B. So the city would be able to take advantage of a statewide procurement process that the state of California already went through, we'd be able to take advantage of that and show readiness to HCD for this CDBG application. These structures include a minimum of 30 shelter units, and potentially, depending on the funding, we could potentially get more, but at a minimum, 30 shelter units with bathroom, laundry, and shower units, as well as one office unit for those wraparound services. The grant may also fund the pre-construction utility work, design plans, and other construction costs procured through a competitive bid process that the city would have to go through. But this is to connect the utilities to the pallet structures, to the emergency shelter. Staff proposes applying for the maximum funding amount allowed in the Notice of Funding Availability of up to $3.6 million to be able to complete this project. Site selection and location analysis. Staff, consisting of a joint commission of city departments, conducted a comprehensive and structured evaluation of potential sites for the proposed tiny shelter village to ensure that the selected location is appropriate, feasible, and consistent with the city priorities and the CDB application requirements. This evaluation is documented in the attached tiny shelter village property selection decision matrix, which is attached to the staff report, which is attachment 3, which objectively compared multiple sites using weighted criteria aligned with grant scoring priorities. Each site was evaluated and scored on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 representing the most favorable condition, and the criteria were weighted to reflect factors of greatest importance to both the city and the CDBG program, including public health and safety, neighborhood compatibility, environmental conditions, project feasibility, readiness, and cost effectiveness. Evaluation factors included parcel size, proximity to utilities and services, environmental constraints, cost and time required for parcel preparation, and whether the site is city-owned, city-controlled. So part of that site selection process, 2 factors were given particular emphasis due to the relevance to the CDBG competitiveness and compatibility. So those we looked very strongly at, and that is the proximity to residential neighborhoods and sensitive land uses. Staff intentionally sought to minimize potential impacts by avoiding locations near residential neighborhoods and schools, and sites farther from residential concentrations received higher scores. And the environmental conditions and potential soil contamination. And this item is really particularly with CDBG relevance. And sites with known soil contamination were scored lower due to increased remediation costs, regulatory requirements, and potential delays, which negatively affect grant feasibility and readiness scoring. So a lot of the properties within the matrix that are city-owned are along the rail trail. And most of those properties, actually all of those properties that have been transferred over to the city, there has been remediation of the soil, but those that are contaminated were only remediated to a commercial level. There is a land use covenant that's recorded on all of those properties that have contamination due to former use of it being a railroad and arsenic that was used as a part of the pesticides back in the operations of the railroad. It only cleaned to a commercial level. So the land use covenant restricts any residential uses on those properties. In order to turn those into residential uses, the city would have to further mitigate and remediate, which would be additional costs and time that would create a potential delay factor with CDBG and our readiness score. So additional considerations included access to utilities, electricity, sewer, and water, proximity to supportive services and transportation, overall development costs, and the ability to prepare the site within the grant implementation timeline. Using the evaluation matrix, multiple sites throughout the city were analyzed, and the G Street parcel located between 9th Street and 10th Street received the highest overall score among all sites evaluated. This site ranked highest due to its limited proximity to residential uses, its absence of known environmental constraints, availability of nearby utilities, and relative cost efficiency, and the readiness for development. And so this is where that site is located, along G Street. A portion of it is already being used by the encampment and is covered in an asphalt pad. And that's essentially the area that we would be, if approved tonight and we receive direction, would be moving forward with for the emergency shelter. It would only encompass half of this 1.1 acre parcel, and it essentially that is encompassed with where we see that asphalt pad today. And as you can see, it is not adjacent to permanent residential units. It is adjacent to commercial units. It is furthest away from any impact on schools. And based, though, on the environmental constraints, this parcel is not identified. It does not have any contaminants and does not have a land use covenant on the parcel. It ranked the highest. So the G Street location places the city in the strongest possible position to compete for CDBG funding. The site's characteristics directly align with HCD scoring criteria related to feasibility, environmental clearance, readiness to proceed, cost effectiveness, and benefit to low and moderate income populations. Selecting this site minimizes implementation risk and demonstrates the city's capacity to deliver the project within required timelines, which 2 years and 9 months is an aggressive timeline, considering that the state in the award process is not very quick. So that is an aggressive timeline for us to put in all of the infrastructure. First, obtain the units and have a contractor be able to put in the infrastructure and all the components it will take to put this project together. That's an aggressive timeline. And we will need to have an aggressive project to be able to meet those timelines. Very doable, but with any potential environmental factors in place and any remediation that would need to happen, that would limit our ability to be able to complete this project on time. This structured, data-driven site selection process ensures the city's recommended location is not only suitable from a planning and operational perspective, but also strategically optimized to maximize competitiveness for CDBG funding. Based on the results of the weighted site evaluation and the overall suitability of the G Street parcel, staff is requesting City Council direction to proceed with this site for development of the proposed tiny shelter village. Council direction is necessary to finalize the project location for purposes of grant application submittal, environmental review, and subsequent project planning and implementation. So we do have to have a particular site selected in order to be able to apply for CDBG, and we need the council's blessing.
That's not on the resolution, though, so it's just a verbal.
You're giving staff direction to pursue the 9th Street site. The resolution is giving staff the authorization to apply.
Okay.
Fiscal impact. No match is required to apply for CDBG funding. In addition, if awarded, the city is eligible to receive an administrative portion up to 7% of the total funding, which reimburses the city for staff costs associated with administering the grant program and reporting. I do want to note that the resolution clarify, and that's on the next slide, that staff is recommending that the City Council adopt a resolution authorizing the City of Los Banos to apply for up to $3.6 million of Community Development Block Grant non-entitlement program funding to develop a tiny shelter village with supportive services for unhoused people for at least a 30-person capacity within the city limits of Los Banos. And to clarify on the resolution that there is a typo. The project that the amount we would be applying for is $3 million. Program funds would equal $500,000, and the admin would be $100,000 is what we're proposing to be within that application. Project is $3 million. Program would be $500,000, and admin would be $100,000. Staff is also asking that the City Council would provide direction to utilize the city-owned G Street parcel located between 9th Street and 10th Street as the proposed project site. And that concludes my presentation. I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay, before we turn it to the council, anyone from the public would like to speak on this issue, please come forward and state your name for the record, recorded record.
Mark Treichel. Big thing I see for you guys is it seems like you're mixing a little bit of things that shouldn't be mixed. Difference between unhoused and homeless. It's a big difference. People don't understand the difference. Homeless person chooses to be homeless sometimes and sometimes doesn't want housing, doesn't want help. They want to stay. So I think if you're taking people that are maybe lower income, trying to look for a hand up or a help up, you need to think about keeping them a little bit separate from the unhoused homeless people that don't want change or might be a hazard to those people that have families that are trying to get a step up. Maybe take your village, cut it in half, and make half for unhoused, half for homeless, so that you're not mixing people maybe with kids or that are trying to make a step up in their life and putting them with people that are over there stealing out of their yards and things like that. Because I've seen a lot of the homeless in this town be a little bit violent to some of the people, offend them on the rail trail, things like that. So I've seen that quite a bit in this town. And so I think you ought to make some sort of consideration of duplicating it. That parcel's big enough. You said you only need half of it. Why not put one half on one end and one half on the other? Put the homeless closer to the police station and the unhoused closer to the community center. Might give them a little bit of chance that if they've got kids or something that they're not running into the homeless man every day laying naked out in front of his house. Just my thought. I think it's something you guys really should consider because they are a separate. It's like considering undocumented and illegal immigrant. They are different. Illegal, came here illegal. Undocumented might have been here legally and overstayed their welcome. They're now undocumented. So there is a difference. So I think you ought to consider that when you're making this development because you can keep some separation in there. And I think that would be helpful for community safety, for the police, for the fire, because they're going to know whether you're going to subdivision A or subdivision B.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else like to speak on this? Please come forward. Please state your name for the record.
Larry Byers, a proud member of the Los Banos Tree Commission. I live off Pioneer Road. We are applying, as I see it, for a $3.6 million grant. And I have a short statement to make, and that if Christy McHammond, working together with Stacy Sousa Elms, are writing the proposal for the grant, they have been responsible for getting us multi-million-dollar grants. They do an excellent job writing the grants. They know how to write proposals for these grants. I say go for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else, please come forward. Okay, I don't see or hear anyone coming forward. I'll go ahead and close that. Turn this to City Council for comments and discussion on Resolution 7060. Any questions to staff?
I just have a very quick question. Does it cost anything to just apply?
There are some costs to the city, but if we are awarded, we'd be able to recoup those costs. But that is in order to get us ready. CDBG requires improvement plans to show that we are ready to put shovels in the ground as soon as we are awarded. So we have already started to initiate that process in the hopes that we would have an application. And we also would have to have a NEPA clearance, which is for the National Environmental Protection Agency, which because this money originally comes from the federal government, we have to have NEPA clearance. But if we are awarded, which we feel this is going to be a heck of an application, and I appreciate what Mr. Byers said, we've been successful in getting other state grants. And we feel that if at this location and with all of the due diligence that we've put into place, we have a darn good chance to get this money. It is very competitive, so I also want to make sure everyone knows that we can't count our chickens, right? But we're going to give it our best shot, and we're really putting together everything that we can to give us the highest score in readiness. So NEPA clearance is one of them, and improvement plans, which we're prepared to do.
Thank you. And just for transparency purposes, what do you estimate that cost will be?
NEPA clearance is about $12,000, and the improvement plans to have those done would probably be about $24,000, if I'm not mistaken. All of which, though, if we are not awarded, would still be eligible for the next project. It would just make us, that doesn't go away. We would be eligible.
So it's not like a loss, really.
Really, it's just preparing us for additional applications.
Oh, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Stacy, so a gentleman earlier, he spoke about space, between homeless and, trying to get some families in there. What's the space that you have there in between that stuff? Because he makes, a lot of sense there.
So I do want to note that the purpose of this emergency shelter is to really take the place of the encampment. We know we will probably still have tents because there's always going to be an influx of unhoused, which is actually a HUD definition. It's not a City of Los Banos definition. HUD has determined who is unhoused, unsheltered, and what those terms and terminology mean. And so we're very careful about how we use those terms, especially in our application. We will be extremely careful. So it's really the purpose of this emergency shelter is to create a sustainable housing option, an emergency shelter for those living currently in the encampment. For those at risk of homelessness or temporarily unhoused, it may be more suitable to be in our One Tree project, which is permanent supportive housing. And so that would be a portion in the system where they would be more appropriately located to be housed, probably in permanent supportive housing. But if you're in the encampment right now, this would be a more sustainable approach to that encampment that we see now today.
So you're looking at this to basically, it's a replacement for the tents.
It is. It's a sustainable replacement for the tents because those tents are expensive and not sustainable.
So, so of course the plan is not, you're not trying to house families there for extended amounts of time and stuff like that.
Exactly. We have a place actually within our system where we work with our service providers to house families in motels with vouchers and try to get them Section 8. We help them apply for housing. And so we discourage families in the encampment. We really don't want minors mixed in that type of environment. And so families with minors, typically we're working with our service providers, and thankfully we have those resources within our community that we can reach out to in those instances. And so most of the time we're trying to put them up in hotels.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Stacy, for clarification for council as well as the public, these units are only about, a couple of hundred square feet?
70 square feet to 120 square feet.
So that's not enough room for families. So this is specifically for individuals, single individual in a tent. Yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Well, so this is a bridge home waiting to go to the One Tree. I really think it's important that hopefully we get the 3.6 million. That's what we're hoping for. But even if we do and we run a little short to not be able to cover all of the people in the encampment, I think this council should look at funding and finishing out. We got to get rid of those tents. We got to get rid of that encampment. That's my thought to it. That has to go. We have to give people, these homes, these bridge homes have air conditioning and heating inside. so they can, and then of course, they can wash their clothes, they can take showers, and they can start learning to live outside of a tent. And that's our goal. You told one story about the success story about that one woman, and we want a lot of those. The other thing too is it's very important that even though these bridge homes, we're going to have someone there that monitors them full time. I guess they'll be living there, is that correct? Or just an employee watching them? Because now it's not like that in the tents, and we're providing that. It's going to be part of it. That has, like in our low-income housing that we have in town, the apartments that have been built, we now require that. The early ones that were done in the late 80s and 70s, these people would build these low-income apartments. They didn't live in town. They would leave, and somebody would pick up the rent, and you saw what would happen. So none of that can be, even in this bridge home, pallet home area, it has to be monitored full-time. So I'm in favor of this, and so before us we have resolution number 7060, and we need a motion along with okaying the site, correct?
Right.
And with your amendment of the $3,500,000 for programming and the $100,000 for admin. Has to be put into that resolution, so you can just make that motion as said, if you want to.
Yeah, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution 7060 and as read by title.
I'll
With
second.
the Site approval.
Okay, read by title. We have a second with the amendments that was stated along with the area that was discussed in the presentation. A lot of those areas along the railroad corridor, unfortunately, have a lot of just topsoil contamination from when the railroad would spray for weeds, and they used diesel and for decades and decades and decades, 100 years. So eventually, in the future, we're going to have to clean. We cleaned a lot already, and we're going to have to continue to clean those. And you can use them for some things, but you can't put houses on them. So anyway, with that, we have a motion and a second. Any further questions or comments from the council? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you, Stacy. Next, item 11, consideration adoption City Council Resolution 7061, accepting the independent accountant's record on agreed upon procedures related to the city's capital project for the period of July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2024, as prepared by Harshwall and Company, LLP. This is something that this council wanted after we were seated in these seats. I know I talked about it during my campaign. And let's see, we are going to our finance director, Moreno. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Tonight, I will be presenting the much-awaited results of the specialized audit. This item presents the independent accountant's report on agreed-upon procedures for the city capital projects covering July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2024. The city engaged Harshwell and Company, LLP, to perform this review. Unlike a financial statement audit, this engagement focuses on specific procedures agreed upon by management to evaluate compliance with law regulations and city policies related to capital projects. No audit opinion was issued, and this was a procedures-based review intended to provide transparency to our council. As a part of the engagement, the auditors reviewed capital projects active during the period and evaluated the city's policies and internal procedures. They selected a sample of projects based on materiality and risk and test compliance with the California Public Contract Code, city ordinances, procurement policies, payment authorization procedures, grant requirements, and prevailing wage laws. They also reviewed project budget, change orders, supporting documentation, and the accuracy of accounting records to ensure appropriate oversight and monitoring. The auditors reported no exceptions related to compliance, procurement processes, payment authorization, or accounting records. However, 2 projects experienced contract overruns: the 2023 street rehabilitation project and the animal shelter module building project. While the overruns were limited to these projects, staff will strengthen and has strengthened by ensuring appropriate contingency amounts are included at the time of contract award and will return to council for additional authorization if change orders exceeded approved contingencies. Overall, the report reflects strong compliance with applicable requirements. We are asking council to adopt a resolution accepting the independent auditor's report on agreed upon procedures related to the city capital projects for the period of July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2024, as prepared by Harshwell and Company LLP, the city's independent auditors. And I am available for any questions.
Thank you, Minnie. Before we move on to the city council, anyone that from the public would like to speak on this item, please come forward at this time. Okay, I do not see anyone coming forward, so I'll move it back to the council. Any questions, comments? Anyone? Well, Deborah?
I just want to know, were there any deficiencies at all found in this audit?
No.
None.
No. The only things that were done or were identified was a 12,000 overrun where the contingency was not enough to pay for the project. And that was in the street rehabilitation project. And then on the animal shelter, our prior public works director used the green book instead of our contingency policy. In the green book counts for 25% contingency. Our contingency is stricter, which is 10%, and so therefore it was not it was not enough for that overrun. But other than that, everything else was followed. City ordinances, procurement, everything according to state law. There was no other findings whatsoever.
All right, thank you.
Okay, well, I'm really glad to see that only those two things were founded, and basically they were mistakes by a green book and not our book and things like that. But what I will say is that those items would have been, I think this council would have done things a lot differently. And maybe there's nothing wrong procedurally or legally or anything like that, and I'm really happy for that. But I know some of those developments and projects weren't done, in my view, correctly in a sustainable manner with transparency to the public, and that's what we're out to change. And so I'm really glad that that's all you found, and I appreciate all the work your group has done, your department has done on this. Kind of these audits, even though we send them off to a company, it takes a lot of internal work, and we have, I'm really proud of the directors we have in place here, so.
Thank you so much. And just to let you know, as a side note, we have gone through 12 audits since I've been here in April. So, and we have been really successful in improving processes and improving a lot of things that we can improve upon, because that's what these audits give us, is how can we improve and strengthen our internal controls. And I'm very proud of our team.
Good. That's a lot of audits in less than a year. So with that, we have Resolution 7061 before us. Pleasure of the council.
Okay, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 7061 as read by title.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second as stated. Any further questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carried. Again, thank you, Minnie. And we'll move on to item 12, consideration of adoption of City Council Resolution number 7062, establishing the process to fill the District Number 2 vacancy that was caused by Evan Sanders having to leave the state. With that, we'll turn to our City Manager, Niran Than. Nara?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I'll tag team this with our City Attorney, Mary Lerner. But as you just stated, District 2 Councilmember Evan Sanders resigned from his council seat effective January 9, 2026. So as a result, we do have a midterm vacancy that occur in this seat. Pursuant to Governing Codes, Section 36512, subsection B, the council, when there is a vacancy occur, the city council must, within 60 days from the date of those vacancy, either fill the vacancy by appointments or by calling a special election to fill the vacancy. If council choose to select an appointment route, this must be done by within those 60 days, which would be Tuesday, March 10th. So again, based on this midterm vacancy, council currently have two options. Option one is to appoint a successor for the remainder of that term. That would be from March 10th to November 3rd. And then option two is to call for an elections. If the council vote to call for an election, that election will be held at the next regularly established election date, which has to be not less than 114 days from the call of that special election. So in this case, that would be November 3rd, 2026, and it would be coincide with the general elections. That concludes my report. Those are the two options that council have, and staff would like to get some directions on which direction you guys want to proceed to.
Mary, do you have anything to add, please?
I do not. The city manager covered it well.
Okay. Comments from the council? Discussion?
Yes, Mayor, I'll start off. We had an election here this past September when we ended up having we had a vacancy, and we couldn't appoint because two people on council had already been appointed, so we had to go to election. And it was a pretty quick turnaround with, I think it was something like 8.9% of the population, or in the low 9% of the population turning out for that election, costing the city over $40,000. So in short, my opinion on this one is that I think the people in District 2 need to decide who they want to elect for their district to represent them. And it also gives extra time for people who may be on the fence about running for council in District 2, rather than, just a really quick decision of people having to pull applications and run. I just think the general election is our best option right now for council to have people run for this position, and therefore it's not our decision making it. It's the people who live in District 2 making the decision as to who they want to sit in that seat for the period of time remaining. And anything short of that, to me, would be a disservice to the residents who live in District 2 and to the city of Los Banos.
Thank you. And actually, I should have opened it up to the public before you spoke.
Okay.
But I'm sorry for that. But anyway, this time I'll open up to the public. So we have two options here. We can appoint, call a special meeting, do it tonight, call a special meeting to appoint this week or next week. That's easy enough to do. I think in August we had 7 special meetings or something like that. So, or we can let it go to the November election. So anyone would like to speak on this, please come forward at this time.
We'll be getting old friends up here. Hi, Kathy Ballard, resident of Los Banos. I live in District 2. I would prefer if you can go to a November election, that means you don't have a representative for council until that time, and then they don't get confirmed. So we're talking December having representation. I would prefer to appoint because it's such a large period of time. I don't know what's involved in appointing. If I don't know how you would notify the residents for us just to say yay or nay, or I don't know, in regards to who applies for the position. I know quite a few people in my district. I know that there's some that are willing to do that, to be appointed, but not to run in November. It's not something they want to be there all the time, but are well qualified. Like I said, I would have preferred to appoint than to wait to November or December to get representation, for me personally. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, please come forward. Please state your name for the record.
Miguel Alejandre. With all due respect to Deborah's comments right now, I think the residents already kind of have spoken on who they wanted for District 2 in respect to the mayor race. Refugio did win majority for District 2. So a lot of the people have voted already for him to want to represent District 2. So I think the numbers already show that, and it's like Kathy Bauer just stated, to wait not a full year, but that long without representation in that district, I think would be a disservice to the residents in Los Banos. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Please state your name for the record.
Mark Trico, I'm willing to accept an appointment or attempt to try working with the council. Being that the fire department didn't want anything to do with my services, I'd like to try to offer it up to the city council and give you a chance. I live in District 2. I'm willing to maybe try the November ballot, see how it works out. I've never done anything like that before, but I've worked with a lot of fire districts and councils, and I know how it all works. So I'm willing to offer myself up.
Appreciate you willing to serve. Thank you. Anyone else, please come forward. Okay, I do not see or hear anyone. Okay, we'll move it back to the city council. So I think, I've milling over this a lot. And there's a big difference I think a very fair question is why we appointed a year ago, and if we do appoint now or don't appoint now, what's the difference? I think the big difference a year ago, we didn't even have a council in place. And we needed real fast to get a council that we could govern this city. And I'm always sort of unless it's out a couple of years, I lean towards letting the people decide. I think what Miguel said makes a lot of sense. But it is different this time because we're so close. And I just want to tell you a little story. Way back when, 30 years ago, the council did the same thing to sort of push me from not running for mayor. They appointed. And they had somebody retire and they appointed a mayor. And to give that little boost coming to the election. Now, I'm not against that, but that's sort of bothered me a little bit back then. And luckily, I still ran for mayor and I still won back in '94. But it was sort of done to me once. Not that there's anybody up here right now, but sometimes I think it's up to the people. But I'm willing to listen to what everybody has to say here, and I'm very open. I know unfortunately, we're sort of pressed on time, but we had some obligations that were over. No one knew Evan was going to, that threw us all for a loop. He didn't even know. He basically got offered this job. I think he had 5 days to leave the state or something like that. And that's when we all found out, because that really floored all of us. So no one was prepared for this. And sort of like when Ken Lambert handed me the letter the night of the city council meeting to he was resigning. Those things sort of throw you. But anyway, so I want to listen to everybody, what everybody has to say here.
Yeah, so I agree that, the people should decide. But we're looking at that seat being open for an entire year practically by the time this person gets sworn in, like Kathy was saying. It's a long time. And I think the people will still get to decide in November, even if we appoint someone. I think it's worth exploring, looking into. I'm definitely not interested in any kind of special election. Those things cost money, and that's just not route I'd like to go. So I'm open. I'm open to it, but I think a year is a long time to go with that seat open, in my opinion.
I also do agree that's a long time. When was the date that we'd have to appoint someone
Next
by?
week.
By Tuesday.
It's the
Yeah.
Tuesday, which, I mean, we could say, put your applications in before Friday. We can look at them and call a special meeting next week. That's not an issue. We don't need weeks and weeks and weeks to decide. It's really different. We had all those applications before we had public open meetings. We could actually do that. Have everybody line up, say it, and we can appoint, if that's what we decide to do.
Okay, I mean, that's pretty rushed, but I'd be open to that if that wouldn't be a problem for the residents. Like you said, I know we can make it work, you know. Definitely gone through in life a lot of very high pressure decisions, and I know we can make it work, but I'd also be open to that just because it is a very long time until November and then possibly December.
Okay. That's everybody. So we need to have direction what we're going to do.
So actually before you is a resolution, and in it has two options. So council could choose to adopt the resolution selecting option 1, which is appointment of a qualified individual, or option 2, placing the vacant position on, or council could actually just give direction to call a special meeting if that's what it would like to do. So you do have those options before you.
You mean like call a special meeting next week to make the decision? Or-
Correct. I recommend you call it for Monday
Yeah.
night with the Tuesday deadline.
Make a decision or to appoint?
To appoint,
If that's the decision.
if that's the decision of council.
Mayor, if I may, maybe Mary, can you touch base a little bit on the governing codes and the legal requirement for city for appointments? And then if I may ask, put Lucy in the spot a little bit, there's the legal requirement and there's also the customaries of what has been done through an appointment process. So that way, you know, we can be transparent to what has been done.
Sure, I'll start. So if the council chooses to make an appointment, the appointed individual would serve until the November 3rd, 2026 general election. That period would constitute the remainder of former Councilmember Sanders' unexpired term. With respect to the appointment process, there are no specific state laws or provisions in the Los Banos Municipal Code establishing a required procedure. There's no formal application process mandated by law. The council may appoint any qualified individual who is at least 18 years of age, a registered voter of Merced County, and a resident of District 2. If the council opts to fill the vacancy by appointment, all discussions and actions must occur in open session in compliance with the Brown Act. This matter may not be discussed or decided in closed session. There are certain legal limitations on the appointment authority, however, none apply in this situation. The council may not fill a vacancy by appointment if doing so would result in a majority of council having been appointed rather than elected, and the council may not appoint one of its own members to another vacant seat except to the office of elected mayor. Neither of those circumstances is present here. Should the council wish to proceed with an appointment, the action must occur on or before March 10th, which is Tuesday, I believe.
And then Lucy, previously for the previous appointment, what was the process traditionally, I guess?
Well, it was probably a two-part, sometimes even three-part. They would discuss it, and then we would come back and decide how to move forward. We would advertise in the newspaper, in the website, and we would give candidates ample time to apply because it's a very important decision. And then we did interviews out in the open. So it was more than 5 days. It was like a month or two process.
I think the difference, a little difference is we were trying to, back then it was decide on the procedure, how we would select. Voting was a big deal. I remember that. We did a 2-round, and that was one whole meeting. I remember just that. And then it sort of fell apart at the next meeting, but still, it, you know, so a lot of those things have been decided. I don't like it not being able to get in the newspaper. I don't like that.
Yeah,
If that's the decision of the council. But sometimes you got to do what you have to do. Yeah. So with that, let's see, would this have to be a motion?
So, no, council could give direction
Just
to
direction,
call a special meeting. I would recommend if you do that, to also have this resolution on for that same meeting date, because it does give you the option at that time to appoint the qualified resident. Or if, let's say, no one shows up, no qualified resident comes in at that special meeting, you would still have the option then to place it on the November 3rd election.
Would the option be to adjourn this meeting to a date certain so that we don't have to call a special meeting?
No, you would still need to call a special meeting.
Okay.
And we have time for that.
Mayor, I just feel like, here we are, Wednesday's gone. We have Thursday and Friday, and I know some of the residents here have stated that they want an elected person, someone to represent them. And this is not a discouragement, but, with our last administration, there were quite a few people who never returned their phone calls, and I ended up getting their phone calls from their constituents in their district and having to do the work for them. I don't think that, we're in districts for a particular reason, but we're not the type of council that won't answer phone calls or emails that people will send us. At least I'm not. But being that you have tomorrow and Friday, and then we have to make a decision Monday, how, again, like you said, how do you get the word out to the public? There may be more than just, the two people that are sitting here in the audience tonight that want to apply for that position. There may be other people that may want to consider it. So, personally, I just think 2 days is not enough time because there's no city business on the weekend. So that's just my opinion. I think we need to be fair to the public. I don't think that anyone here on this council would not be willing to answer questions for people in other districts. And certainly, Mayor, you get a lot of emails from people that are in everyone's district wanting to, questions answered.
Yeah.
So, I'm just going to stick to my guns on this one. And, I'm in favor of option number 2, where we go to the November election. It's 8 months technically. Usually by the first 2 weeks in December that person is seated because they're there for the Christmas parade. I think the Christmas parade is the first or second week of December. So that's how I look at it, and so that's going to be my vote tonight, is to go for the general election.
To be clear for the record, is that a motion?
I will
Mayor Pro Tem?
make a motion then that we go with option 2, which is to place it District 2 council vacancy on the November 3rd general election ballot.
So that's a motion to approve Resolution
that's a motion.
7062 with
Yes.
option 2. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Do I hear a second? Motion dies. Second motion? Another motion?
Yeah, so I'll make a motion for option 1 to adopt resolution 7062 for option 1.
I'll second.
Yeah, we do have a motion and a second. And before I call for the vote, can we advertise on social media enough in the next 2 days to get it done? Because
Mayor, nothing is impossible, so I think we can move things around and get that advertised, but it is we're going to have to look for some assistance with our city clerks and Viana to get in tomorrow to do that. So we'll have to move stuff around so we can get it out by the notice of vacancies out by the end of the day. Again, like we talked about, we can get it on the website, on social media, but unfortunately, I think we just missed the time frame for the newspaper. And it wouldn't matter anyway because you guys come out on Wednesday, right? Yeah. So those are the only. I do get 2 copies.
Word of mouth would be
So,
great. too.
yeah, so Mayor, the public portion of this, public comment portion of this is closed, and so it really is the council's time to speak.
Thank you. Okay, so,
Yeah, I know this is not ideal. I know this is a bad situation. We don't have time, and I know, all due respect, I mean, I respect you very much. It's just,
It's your opinion.
yeah, I mean, and it's a long time to go, and I think the people will still get their chance to vote in November. Yeah, it's not ideal. We don't have the time. I totally get that. Wish it was different. Definitely wish it was different, but we just don't have it. Yeah, I mean, that's all I wanted to say, basically.
so I know there's people that have been watching us that are interested. There's people that have run that are interested. I think Ms. Ballard said she knows people in the district that would serve and maybe not even run in November, which would be, that's fine too. I mean, it's what the willingness to serve is what's important here. And so there's a lot of, it's not ideal, but hopefully if if you're interested in serving your community, you've sort of kept up a little bit with what's going on in the city, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we had people speak here tonight, and social media can be very powerful. So I would say, help get it out, spread it out as fast as you can. Tell anybody you know. Rosmo said it earlier. It's a privilege to serve. It is. It is a privilege. But so get the people involved, get it out. I don't know what to say. I know we're trying to get the paper and all that good stuff, but get it out.
Okay, if there's anything else, with that, I'll call for a roll call vote, please.
City Attorney, can I ask for clarification?
Yes.
Since you're going to call a special meeting for the appointment of a council member, how do they decide? Do they submit an application and all that type of stuff? Do we just do
So I
past
think
practice?
I think it was referenced that they could submit interest by close of business on Friday. Is that correct?
Yeah, if the meeting's on Monday, they have to do it by Friday, yeah.
And then at that meeting on Monday, would you want everyone who submitted interest to attend so that you could interview them?
Yes.
Because we have an application from last time that we could update and use.
That's council's discretion.
Yeah, I think that's how we would do it. We've already done it once, twice, 3 times. So, no, let's not change the way we're doing things. Okay, so do you understand?
So just update the application from last time.
Yeah.
And to submit that.
Yeah. You'll be able to get it on the website tomorrow and.
If I have access to documents.
Okay. Anything else? From you?
The voting criteria, will that be discussed?
That would be the same.
So we'll prepare a staff report for them.
Yeah. It'll be a 2-round thing and all that stuff.
Tricky because they decided one thing and then at the next meeting when they went to do what they decided, it was some ways. So
Just so that we're clear on it, I think if council decides to go with the appointment route, we can set a deadline to receive applications. So that way staff has sufficient time to prepare the staff report for you to consider. And then the meeting, it sounds like it will be called then for Monday. And then at that meeting, we can do a 2-item. One is to establish the appointment process, whether it's votings and things at that meeting. So it's clear. And then you proceed to the second item, but then do the interview and the appointment at that second item. Is that okay?
Okay, with that, Anything else? Is everybody available Monday? 6 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock?
Later in the
I'll
evening would be
have to
better.
make it work.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
have my date
Monday I'm
book
good.
with me. I know Tuesday I'm not, so.
I'm open, so what works.
Councilmember Charvison, it was your motions, so do you want to revise the motion then to go with, to clarify, is for option one, which is the appointment routes, to open up the application process tomorrow with a set application deadline of Friday at 5 p.m., and to do a special meetings on Monday at 6 p.m. To go through the selection process and the appointment, correct?
Correct.
And does your second still stand?
Yes.
And you have everything, Lucy? Okay, roll call vote, please. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes. Okay, so we move on with that. So let's go on. Thank you all. 13. Okay, item 13, discussion direction regarding amendment to Los Banos Municipal Code Section 2-3.301 to increase elected compensation. That's what you were doing?
I'm going to
Yeah,
take
I'll
this
go
one.
to, that's you, Mary? Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Tonight, staff is requesting direction only, so no vote necessary, from the council regarding a potential modification to the elected officials' compensation as permitted under state law. As background, the City of Los Banos has 7 elected positions: the mayor, 4 council members, the city clerk, and the city treasurer. In 2023, Governor Newsom signed Senate Bill 329, which amended California Government Code Section 36516. This legislation applies specifically to city council members in general law cities such as Los Banos and increased the maximum allowable monthly salary based on population. The intent of this amendment was to modernize council compensation and allow cities to adjust for inflation, thereby supporting broader economic diversity and public service. Under Government Code Section 36516, a city council may enact an ordinance establishing compensation up to the statutory maximum tied to population. For cities with populations over 35,000 and up to and including 50,000, the maximum allowable compensation is $1,275 per month per council member. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, Los Banos had a population of 45,566 at the last census. As of July 1, 2024, the estimated population is 48,684, and the California Department of Finance estimates the population at 48,896 as of January 1, 2025. Based on these figures, the city qualifies for the $1,275 per month maximum. State law further provides that annual increases may not exceed 5% per calendar year from the last operative adjustment, or an amount equal to inflation since January 1, 2024, based on the California Consumer Price Index, not to exceed 10% per calendar year. Importantly, no ordinance may provide for automatic future increases. Each increase would require a separate ordinance amendment and would take effect when newly elected council members are seated. Pursuant to Los Banos Municipal Code Section 2-1.303, the current salary for council members is $300 per month, and the mayor receives $400 per month. These amounts were established in 1989 and have not been increased in approximately 37 years. Originally, in 1966, compensation was set at $150 per month for each council member, including the mayor. If the city council directs staff to proceed with increasing compensation at any amount, but not to exceed the statutory maximum, I would prepare an ordinance amending the relevant sections of the municipal code. Because Los Banos is a general law city, any increase for council members would take effect after the next regular municipal election in November 2026, when newly elected members are seated. However, for directly elected mayors, such as in Los Banos, an increase may take effect during the current term. If adopted, the ordinance could become effective 30 days after adoption for the mayor and following the next regular election for council members. With respect to fiscal impact, increasing compensation to the maximum of $1,275 per month would represent an increase of $975 per month for each council member and $875 per month for the mayor. These costs would be allocated across the general fund, Water Administration Fund, Wastewater Administration Fund, and Solid Waste Administration Fund. Assuming the mayor receives additional compensation pursuant to Government Code Section 36516.1, the additional fiscal impact would be calculated as the mayoral increase multiplied by 12 months. For historical and comparative context, the city's 2024 compensation study, prepared by Bryce Consulting, indicates that Los Banos base salaries for elected officials are significantly below the labor market median. The study shows the mayor's base salary is 57.5% below the median, and council members' base salary is 66.67% below the median, while total compensation, which includes benefits, is closer to market levels. Base salary and total cash compensation remain substantially below comparable agencies. With respect to the city clerk and city treasurer, each currently receives a base salary of $100 per month. The total annual compensation for the city clerk is $6,078.32, as she does not participate in health benefits. The total annual compensation for the city treasurer is $32,284.53. Should the council wish to consider adjustments to the salaries of the city clerk and or city treasurer, staff recommends that a revised salary schedule be prepared and brought forward for approval for each position. At this time, staff respectfully requests direction from the City Council on whether to proceed with preparation of an ordinance to increase council compensation up to the maximum amount authorized by state law, and I'm available for any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Mary. With that, I will turn it to the public for any comments on this. You're all welcome to comment if you have to say anything. I just want to ask you make one thing clear before the compensation you said that was 66%, that was other council members and mayors that you said we were below, or are you talking?
Correct. So there was a study done, and Neron can maybe talk more about the study, but there was a study done that looked at 12 other communities and averaged those communities' pay for council members and mayor, and it was your base pay, which currently here it's $300 and $400, and then your total compensation, which includes like the health benefit, dental, vision. And I don't know, Neron, did I miss anything with respect to the compensation study?
Yeah, and I think we can share this also. So on the study itself, the median's council or mayor, I'll start with that one. The median mayor salary for all those 12 is $630, and currently the mayor of Los Banos is $400. And then for city council, the median labor markets for those 12 cities is $500, and city of Los Banos is at $300. But again, we also look at total compensation, which includes retirements as well as healthcare benefits. For the median is $2,985 per month, and Los Banos is $2,991 per month for the mayor positions. For city council, the median's compensation, total compensation package is $2,928 per month, and Los Banos is $2,883 per month.
Okay. With that, I'd like to open up to public. If you have something more to say to us, please come forward. And please state your name for the record. Turn on this mic, please. Thank you.
Mayor, council, staff, Refugio Llamas. City of Merced has an estimated population of approximately 98,000 folks. Concurrently, they handle a budget twice as large, twice as many problems, etc. City council members receive an annual pay of approximately $6,000 a year, paid in installments of $500 a month. The mayor receives $7,200 a year, paid in $600 a monthly installments. Again, it's a city twice our size, and now we're asking the citizens, the taxpayers, to essentially more than double the pay here. I don't think that I don't think it's appropriate, especially when we have residents who are working 2 or 3 jobs, single mothers, single parents, trying to just put food on the table, maintain rent, et cetera. And I think this position is one that you want to serve and give back to your community. It should not be something that you look at, how do we increase it, and we justify it by saying, well, somebody else makes more than I do. I don't think that's the benchmark we want to use. And I think that I appreciate the analysis, and I appreciate the information, but at this time, I believe that this money, if spent, would be better used on working to develop our economic structure, providing better paying jobs for residents, additional personnel at the animal care facility, maybe additional personnel, maybe funding grants to spay and neuter animals, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot better use of these animals that would help our residents and not for individual increases in salary. So again, I appreciate the analysis. I appreciate the information. It's good to have the information, but I do not believe that it's warranted at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Okay, I do not see or hear anybody else coming forward, so I'll go ahead and close the public. And I think I'm going to start with this one. I'm the one that asked for this to be brought forward. I wasn't even aware of the 2024 study that was done at the last council. I had no idea with that. I do not do this job for the money. I probably lose. See, it's different for me because since I own my business, I have to pay somebody to take my place when I'm here. I ran for mayor because I love this job. I love doing things for our community, and I love progress to the future for basically my children, my family, and the rest of the town. I love that. But the last thing I do this for is for the money, because if I did it for the money, I'm losing money every month to have this job. Right now it's around, I think I'm losing around $2,500 a month, even with the pay. So it has nothing to do with money to me. What I'm worried about is how 37 years since this has been looked at, think about that, 37 years. I'm worried about the future. You do not want, okay, this is how things have changed. You go back to the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, you look at any club in this city, Lions Club, Rotary Club, they had 100 members. I remember Rotaries meet at my restaurant once a week. They had 100 members that showed up every week to that, and they're all volunteers. Now, I think they have, I don't want to talk for them, but every club, the volunteer, unless you're involved with your children and it's a school activity and you're doing something to help your child at that school, you'll see volunteerism. But you can see volunteerism is leaving society, not just Los Banos, but all of society. I'm worried about the future. I'm not worried about me. I'm not worried about money for these people up here. We need people to be enticed. I know I heard the thing, this job, you want to do it, you want to do it. You can't lose money. Today, there's 2 families. In a family, there's both husband and wife, both partners have to work to make it work. When my father was mayor, my uncle was mayor of this town, one person made plenty of money and still could volunteer because they only worked 6, 7, 8 hours a day. My father was a farmer, he worked 15 hours a day, but most people, and they would get, there were farmers up here, business people up here, principals up here. I remember coming to the meetings when I was really young, and my principal was up here, and it was really different. But today, we have to have Mary here making sure everything is done right so we're not sued, because you know how we're deep pockets. People like to sue the city, so we have to make sure we run on a straight and level road. And I'm worried about the future. So do you want, luckily we appointed young people. And if you noticed, that was part of the goal, to get young people involved. Do you want a bunch of old men and women sitting up here that have the time to serve, that don't look at things exact. Now I do. I'm still working. I'm still working I work every day. And so I don't feel any different than I did 20, 30 years ago. But I know if I retired, you know what starts to happen. I don't even want to leave the house. You know, those things start happening, and that's just being human. And I don't put anybody down for that. Everybody does what they want. But I'm worried about the future. What is it going to take to get in 10 years, 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, people to be able to take on this job, $100 million budget, all these meetings. I've already had 5 meetings this week. This is my 5th meeting. And I am not complaining. I love it. I actually love it. But do you expect somebody else that has to have a full-time job that works for a company that can't? I see what Marcus sacrifices. He takes his vacation time for console time because he works for another company, and so that's a big deal. Today's a different world. We want to be able to entice people. I don't know what the number will be in the end if we even raise it, but that was my goal. A compensation is not a token compensation. It's a compensation that maybe people will look at it differently. And if I'm going to do all that work, you're not as crazy as I am to do all the work for no reason at all, except for sometimes you have to entice the younger generation to make it worth their while. And that's what I'm afraid of. Now, I understand. I think the thing that really gets me is it hasn't changed in 37 years. So just give us the cost of living increase in 37 years. I don't even know what that would be. I couldn't even remember how much I was making, honestly, because we have direct deposit. I know the council was 300. I was thinking, oh, maybe I'm 350. Till I read the report and saw that I was making 400 because it's a direct deposit, and money is not the issue why I'm here. And I'm retired, so my benefits, my health benefits are a lot different than that could be paid to a younger person sitting in this seat. I'm still going to run for mayor. I'm still going to do it. I'm still going to follow because I'm for this town and I want other people to get involved. We're doing things this year with bringing the high school students in here. I go talk to classes. The first thing I said, you have to run for government. You have to be involved in your community. This is our town. Don't sit back and complain. Get involved. Make a difference. But when I talk to 18-year-olds, honestly, the first thing they say to me is, how much do you get paid? And I tell them, and they just roll their eyes, And, and this is just follows what we've been doing. About 3-4 months ago, we looked at all salaries and tried to make everything legit to today's standards. Good example, and Marcus will talk about this, when he went to, and Mitzi went to their conference, they get $6 for breakfast. Can you buy a breakfast of $6 at a convention center? Think about that. Maybe you can buy a cup of coffee, but that's how old our standards were for paying council members. And so everything has to be looked at. I'm a businessman, and I look at what would entice somebody to take on this job. Have the 5 meetings by Wednesday. Have the 20 emails a day. Spend the time doing that. I hope there's people standing in line. Please don't have one person run for an office. That drives me crazy when one person runs for an office. We should have 20 people running for office. So it was me. It's not any of these people up here. That's why I did it. I'm a businessman. I've been speaking to these young kids. I've been seeing what they're thinking about. And I thought maybe it's time, after 37 years, to maybe increase this pay a little bit. and I don't even have to take it. Has nothing to do with money for me. So, you know, I'm thinking of the future, and that's why I wanted to do it. And I think there was another question. Well, anyway, so that's all I can think. Now I'll open to the rest of the council what they think.
Well, Mayor, I'll go since I've been sitting up here for 13 years now. And prior to that, I was on Planning Commission by appointment of the mayor. When I looked at my numbers, I thought it was 10, but I think it was 12 years that I sat on Planning Commission and didn't get paid a dime because I do love this city. And I wanted it to be a nice place for people to move and live here. So that was my goal. And I also volunteered for other things. I was on the Merced County Fair Board for what, 7, 8, 9 years, something like that. There was no pay in that, but I did it because I loved what I was doing. I was elected to sit on Valley Air. Now, I don't know if there's anybody here tonight that's a special district employee, but they got raises too, and we got raises on the air board. We went from $200 to $400 a meeting, and any additional meeting after that, we get another $400. So if we go to 3 meetings, you know, we get the compensation. So I'm making more now on the air board than I'm making here, and that's just 1 meeting a month. I have health insurance through my retirement. There are some things like eyeglasses that I don't get, so you know I take that compensation. But I have my own health insurance coverage. But I challenge anybody who would come up here for this position as to whether or not they would deny taking health insurance. I have one colleague that sits on the air board with me out of a different city. They get over $3,000 a month, but she would give up the whole $3,000 to get health insurance. So there's a blessing in this for people who sit in this position. And I agree with the mayor. When I looked at this, and it was like 37 years, in the 13 years I've been here, we have tried our best to be faithful and fair to our employees, not only for their salaries and their benefits, but for their budgets as well. And I'm not saying that we were neglected, but we're decision makers sitting up here, and for 37 years, this is what we've been paid, and never asked the public for anything. And we have people coming saying that we don't deserve this. It's a lot of work in this. It's not just sitting here at this meeting. You've got a lot of materials to read through. You've got decisions to make. As the mayor says, you know, there are a lot of meetings to attend. There are volunteer things that I go to that aren't even required, but I go because I'm an elected servant to the people in this city, and I go. So I don't think it's a whole lot to ask that you would make your council whole, because there are other people who will try to run in the future, and even though, you know, whatever decision is made as to what the compensation may end up being, it's not a livable wage. But I do think it's worthy of people who sit here and give their heart, their time, their energy, and making decisions for this city to try to make it a good place for people to live. So that's kind of my take on it. And I know there are other people that have set up here that don't benefit from the full package of what's given to them. And as far as retirement is concerned, nobody that sits up here that was elected, I think, before 2010 gets any retirement. There's no retirement package to us. We're not full-time per city employees. So when we're off the dais, the money goes away, the benefits go away, we get nothing. So is that a whole lot to ask for your public employees, your public officials that are trying to make this a better place to live in? I don't think it's a lot to ask. So I may sound a little bit dogmatic here, but that's my opinion on it. And I think anybody, who sits up here in the future, whatever the increments of raises that may be eligible to come to them, I think they should deserve that. And we as the public have to make sure we elect good people to sit up here to make sure that your city moves forward in a way that it should move and have a desirable community to live in and bring businesses here. We're trying to work hard to bring businesses here to help people have livable wages here, and to work with our college system, our junior college, to see that they are offering courses that are going to, get people in jobs that are going to help them live without having to work 2 and 3 and 4 jack-in-the-box jobs to try to make ends meet. So, yeah, 37 years is a long time, and nobody can live off $300 and $400 a month. So that's not the issue at all. I think the issue is to compensate your elected officials to a point where you feel they deserve it. Your state officials make a lot of money, and your federal officials make a lot of money, and you pay taxes for them too. So I think as a public official, I don't see myself as a politician. I see myself as a servant to the people who elect me. And I've tried my best to serve the people in the district and the city as a whole since I've been here on this dais.
I think one of the questions I remember now is that Mayor Pro Tem gets paid for their board. None of us get paid for any of the other boards. MCAG, we get nothing. And that's a clean energy. That was one of the meetings I had today with Sean and part of the board. I get paid nothing for that. NAFCO, I get paid nothing for that. And the only other thing we get paid for is our phone allowance. And we do that because, honestly, people ask for public records and they want to see our phone calls. And so I have my personal phone that I call my wife and tell her how much I love her, and I don't want anybody to see that. So I have my cell phone that I call her on and tell him to get to work. So, and he does a good job with that. So we get $75 a month for that, I think, $80. It just went up to 80 or something like that. So that's it. We do, if we go out of town, like if I go to MCAG, I could turn in that mileage. I don't do it. I think in the year, almost year and a half I've been mayor, I turned in mileage one time, is when I was going to Sacramento, speaking in front of the Senate committees, and I was making all those trips to Sacramento, meeting with the lawyers and the lobbyists. Those were 18-hour days up there, plus, and that was part of the drive. And it worked. We got a unanimous decision out of that last committee. But I would not even let the lawyer I brought my wife one time. She couldn't handle it anymore, and she stayed home after that. Listen, if you really want to listen to politicians, go to Sacramento. But anyway, they wanted to buy us lunch. I wouldn't let them buy us lunch. No, because then I have to report it for the next 2 years or something. It's not worth it. So anyway, that's how that goes. So I should be probably turning in my mileage. I don't even do that. So anyway, Marcus or Mitzi, you have any comments on this?
Yeah. First, I would say I don't. The number I think 1275 is that's the number I think we're just stating. That's where it could go if you wanted. I don't think no one's saying that's what the proposal is or anything like that. I think it's just more of a conversation. What makes sense? I would say I definitely was shocked. First per diem, $6 for breakfast, and I was like, I can't even get Starbucks for that. And then I'm sitting there looking at what we get at work, and I'm just like, that's wild, really. And then they said, yeah, they've never adjusted that in eons. And then I find out the last time a race took place here was '89, I believe, and 37 years ago. I was like, what's going on with that? And I asked, well, why? I was trying to figure out why. Why is it never gone up? Why? Because the generations now, it's a little different. Volunteerism, it's off the cliff. It's not how it used to be, you know, with people having pride and stuff like that. Yeah, you got people out there, but it's a lot less. I'll say that. And then I come to find out, you know, I think it's the city clerk. Maybe I'm wrong, Mary, but it's like $100. Like, yeah, it's $100. You know, I mean, Lucy's never said anything. I was shocked to hear that, and she's retired now. But how much longer is she going to hang out with us? I don't know. Well, how do you get somebody to want to do what she's doing? It's 9 o'clock right now, and she's going to go and try to get applications posted and all kinds of stuff. So she's not even done. And she got here before, you know, 6 o'clock. It's $100, really? It's like, wow. And then that's just something else. So I think it's worth looking into. I think it's worth, you know, getting some more feedback, getting some further discussion. And I'd like to hear what staff would have to say. What do they think? Nobody's getting rich doing this. This is for sure. But I think it's worth taking a look at, especially for, I mean, you heard the mayor and Deborah, they've been doing this for a long time. And the one thing I did hear is that when I kept asking, well, why is this never changed? And I kept hearing the same thing over and over. It's like, oh man, people don't want to do that because they're afraid they're going to use that against them at a re-election. And I was like, all right, well, I guess. Look, I'm no politician, and you guys see that. I'm just a regular working person. You'll catch me anywhere. I was in here earlier today with a work shirt on, rushing, talk to Neuron and you know, work on stuff. We're always working on something. We're always going somewhere. We're always doing something. You know, I mean, I haven't even turned in reimbursement for cell phones since we had this change. You know, it's, again, it's not about anybody trying to get rich. This isn't a job. This isn't going to pay your bills. It's nothing like that. But I mean, yeah, you know, you heard Deborah and Mike, and I think it's worth looking into. Again, no one's saying 1275, nothing like that.
Yeah, 30, goes back down to 37 years.
I pretty much agree with everything that's been said. Just like you, I do get asked, people for some reason do think getting paid a lot for this. And when I tell them, they're like, what? Like, they really can't believe it. And, you know, I came into this knowing, fully aware that that was the pay. I didn't mind, like Marcus, I also haven't turned in a single reimbursement for the phone. It's just, for me, it's a lot having to get that out of my, you know, my T-Mobile app and then turning it in. You know, for me, it's not even worth it. So I just left it at that. I think it's a good idea to have something to entice the younger generation, just because, like I said, people are in shock when I tell them that the pay is $300. I certainly don't mind for myself because, again, I don't take this as my primary job for sure. You know, I have my second job, but I do take a lot of time off to come to the meetings. With my new job, I sometimes work up until 8 p.m. So thankfully, they're working well with me. They're aware that I will be taking half days for our council meetings. So I'm really happy that I was able to find a job that's flexible for me. But again, that just shows that we do sometimes sacrifice to put in the work. And I think a lot of people aren't aware of all the work that goes into it. I think my first agenda that was 900 pages, I was like, oh my God, you know? So it's a lot of information to keep up with. It's not about compensating for that time, but again, it makes you feel good to know that you are deserving of that, and it will help in getting other people to try out and get involved. So that's pretty much all I have to say.
Yeah, for all the years I was mayor, I said I try to run the city as a business, and that really is the financial part of it. I know employees, government employees, that's different. You have to have protection, and they have, you know, there's a lot of legal things involved. There's unions, there's a lot of things like that. But the rest of the money buys, you know, our first budget up here is this year we're in, and as was said the last meeting, we're 800,000 in the positive, which is almost 2 million more than last year in the first 6 months we've made, because we're running the place, and we have good directors, a good city manager, and we are running the place like a business. So I look at all that and I go, maybe we should be somehow our pay looked like as a business. So anyway, that's where we're at. I think I'd like to give direction to the staff Mary to come back. I think we talked once, you were you were at legal counsel for Chowchilla that just did the same thing, right?
Correct. They did it last year,
They
last
did.
May, and
And what did they end up doing? Do you know? with that?
they have a population of significantly lower, so they had the lower amounts. I think it was 900. And the mayor got his immediately because he's now a directly elected mayor. That is new
Okay.
for Chowchilla because they had to switch to districts. And the rest of council will not be eligible for an increase until after the election
November.
this year, even though they adopted the ordinance change last year.
Yeah.
And Mayor, just for data, just because, we've been discussing out here and there's a lot of words talking about CPI and inflation. So I just pull it up from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics this is for consumer price index for all urban consumer, U.S. city average for all items. So we plug in $300 in January 1989 and put that into CPI for January 2026. That would be $805.74. That's according to the labor statistic.
So that's a very good point. That's something we need to see when we discuss this at the next meeting and the meeting after that. If that's the decision, just do CPI since with.
Hold up. It's $805.74. That is from $300 in 1989 to January 2026.
So anyway, I would like to go ahead and if everybody agrees to give direction to tell staff to come back with, I guess, some type of model.
Okay, so
You know,
it would
that
be
you think-
it would be a proposed ordinance revision.
Okay.
With a dollar amount as directed by council. We can talk about that tonight, or when I bring back the ordinance revision, it's always something that could be filled in at that time.
Yeah, this is not a hurry. I think it's a discussion we need to take. We need to move forward with this. And the governor passed this law, and I think, they actually saw a need for consuls. So does everybody agree with that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I appreciate everybody's comments. We hear you, and I understand. Hope you understand where I'm coming from and the council, because no matter what the outcome is, nothing's going to change up here. If it stays the same, we're going to still do the same job we always do. It has nothing to do with that. I'm really looking at the future. So with that, we'll go to city department reports, and we'll go with Community Economic Director, Stacy Souza Elms. Stacy, anything else to report?
So no public hearings to report, as our March 11th Planning Commission meeting will be canceled because the Planning Commission will be attending the Planning Commission Academy, which will be in Anaheim, and is hosted by the League of California Cities. 4 of the 5 planning commissioners will be going, and which we wouldn't have a quorum back home to be able to hold a planning commission. So that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Finance Director Minnie Moreno.
Yes, Council and Mayor. I went to the CSMFO conference last week, and it was an amazing conference. There was 500 new attendees or first-time attendees, and it was about 2,000 of us at Palm Springs, and it was a really good conference with a really good training. And my accountant too went with me, and it was pretty amazing. So just wanted to let you know. Also wanted to let you know that the market rate study for the city, Councilmember Lewis, that you've requested, is going to be hitting the public next week, and we'll have a short turnaround, 3 weeks, and then bring it hopefully to council on April 15th. So we're working really hard on all of these audits and all of the tasks, and we're going to get ready to start the budget again. It's going to be a year I've been here in April, and so I'm totally excited to get that process started and get our next budget cycle going with all the departments and with you and workshops and all the amazing work that our staff does. That's all for me.
Thank you. Fire Chief Paul Twala. Paul?
Good evening, Mayor and Council and staff. Before I touch on the incident on Johnson Road, just want to highlight a couple things. On the 26th, AMR had a meet and greet here in town over at the fairgrounds. It was a good meet and greet, asked some questions. We did have a few community members there, which was really good. Also like to note that I stay in close contact with AMR and the EMS agency on our compliance, and we're at a 96% compliant. So that means that 90% of the time they have to reach at 90% of their calls, they have to reach our calls at 12 minutes and 59 seconds. And we're doing that at 96% of the time. So it's pretty good. We've had a few delays, but a lot of that's due to call load with a growing community. We're seeing more and more call volume for ourselves, not only for ourselves, but even out in the county areas. The call volume has been increasing. So I'm happy to report that our ambulance compliance is much better, and that the county and EMS agency did a good job on kind of staying on top of the whole ambulance contract. So it's been a good thing. We are also in weed abatement season, so we're starting to filter complaints. And one good thing is we've been working on an application with actually the county really helped us out on this, because the county's using this weed abatement application on mobile devices to track weed abatement. And the way we're doing it now is kind of antiquated, so we're hoping that we'll get the rollout here in the next week or so we can start getting on that weed abatement. So we've already taken in a few complaints, but this will help us streamline that process and then be able to have be able to complete these weed abatement notices and things like that in a faster manner. So we're looking forward to that.
You put up your satellite, take satellite pictures, is that what you're doing?
Yeah, well,
Not quite yet.
Not quite yet. Not quite using the drones yet, like the insurance companies do now.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
But what is really neat is the application itself will allow us to capture pictures with GPS coordinates and then be able to identify our lots. And with the data that we're getting, that's on the back end. It's updated by the recorder's office every week. So instead of us getting our monthly reports in, it will actually have current address information. So when we send out notices, so since we send them out certified, we'll spend the money, send certified, then it comes back returned that there's no address to be delivered to, or it's the improper address. So hopefully this will help us clean up a lot of that. So.
Great.
And then obviously this beginning of the week, we did have a major incident for the city. Was an ammonia leak over at Kagome. Our folks, we were very taxed with our resources, and I got to the incident after a few notifications from our battalion chief and a call from the city manager also asking about it. So we did identify a few things that we're going to have to address with some notifications that we need to look at. What we're going to plan to do is do a post-incident analysis with having all the key players. And one of the big things with this incident is it's a hazardous materials incident, so everything starts to slow down, and then you're calling in a lot of resources in initially. So probably like the first 10 minutes we're trying to get resources, and our closest hazmat team is actually coming out of McSwain, and that's just to get the hazmat unit. Part of OSHA requirement is you have to have 2 in, 2 out, similar to what we do for a structure fire. We only have 2 trained hazardous materials techs and specs within our department, and one of them was actually having to run the incident. So when you don't have the personnel, adequate personnel, we can't make any entries. We have to put together plans. There's a whole big process with a hazardous materials incident that's quite different than like respond to a structure fire or a vehicle accident. So there's a lot of planning work involved, and we did spend a lot of time initially trying to get those initial resources in. Both Chief's team did a great job of getting us resources and then getting us county resources for law enforcement for putting in hard closures, trying to get notifications made. Dispatch worked on that. We know that there's things that we'll have to address with the notification, but we're working on a plan for that now so that we can get out those master notifications quickly. And we realize that there'll be a lot to come out of this post-incident analysis, so we're looking forward to having this with all the key players, to include Kagome, so we can take a look at how we're responding to these incidents, whether it be from the public works side, law enforcement side, fire side, The OES side, we had a lot of our key players there, and even our non-governmental agents, organizations such as Red Cross, what their part would be in this type of incident in the future. So hoping to get those things out. I know there was some questions on the schools, and we identified, we do what we call plume modeling for, where we anticipate that plume may go, and we identified those things very early so that we can make sure we get proper notifications like to which schools were going to be impacted. So this is definitely one of those incidents we call very high risk and very low frequency. So these do tend to pose an issue when we don't have these all the time, although we may train and prepare for them. But when the real thing happens, what really counts is having that personnel, the initial personnel on scene. So
I think it's really important that as you look at everything is you go to the school sites, we'll go to the interim superintendent and make sure they can say the same message that you're putting out. I think that was a lot of confusion. I know I had parents call me. They said the school was closed, the school isn't closed, this school is closed. And I know a lot of it's hearsay and it gets exaggerated too. But I think if the school has the same message as we do, and if you say code blue or whatever it is, the school does exactly this, and their principals and vice principals know that, I think that will help. And I also know that the way we notify people on the reverse 911, a lot of that stuff just changed too.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I know Neuron wants to talk, maybe you want to say a little about, we need to make sure our people know you have to re-register, you have to do that. So we learned a lot, and this is why we're doing that new station with the EOS. This is the perfect example how we're thinking about the future. And so this is very unfortunate. We can always do better. I can do better. Everybody can do better. But we're going to learn from this, and we're all going to be a lot better.
No, absolutely.
So-
And the school district will be involved in our post-incident analysis of the incident. So we look forward to what comes out of this. And I think a lot of it is just taking ownership on things that we did well and things that we didn't do well and things that we can improve. So if we at least learn from these incidents so that in case we have another incident, it's not if, it's when, especially with these type of hazardous materials incidents. We live in an area that we are prone to have hazardous materials incidents. It may not specifically to ammonia per se, but we have a lot of agriculture too. So those are things that we need to be prepared for. So we look forward to having that, the meeting with everyone to really discuss this.
Great. Anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay, we appreciate it and appreciate you. With that and your department, and I'll also thank the police department for everything. And Public Works, everybody worked really well together on that. Human Resources Interim Director Isabel Carlos.
Yes,
Isabel?
Mr. Mayor, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the council, just a brief report tonight. 3 items. On the recruitment activity, we will have some new announcements for new hires coming up pretty soon. Also, for this reporting period, the HR team will be participating in Portfolio Day at the Los Banos High School this Friday. And this event was sponsored, or is going to be sponsored through the ROP program. They're going to be facilitating mock interviews for the students with various organizations, including the city. So a couple of our team members are going to go and help with the mock interviews. The students are also going to be able to showcase their professional portfolios, and they've been working on those all year long, so that's going to be exciting. The department also coordinated participation for the Read Across America event that is happening this week at Grasslands Elementary School. And so we have various city officials and city employees participating in that reading event. They're going to be able to select a book of their choice. And so we're happy to be able to contribute to the educational collaborations with our local schools and also to help prepare our youth for future career opportunities. That's my short report for tonight.
Okay,
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Parks and Recreation Director, Joe Heim.
All
Right, good evening. I'll keep this brief. We have our Arbor Day celebration this Friday. It's at Citrus 2 Park, which is at 415 2nd Street. That's the park that has a little basin there on the way to Lorena Falasco Elementary. That's from 4 p.m. to 6:30. If you miss Arbor Day, or if you would like to join another event, we have our egg hunt at the end of the month on March 28th, and that's at Olivera Park, and that one is really, really popular. So please try to attend both of those if you can. And then the last thing I wanted to update was just we are registering for T-ball, and that fills up quick, so I just wanted to let everybody know.
Great, thank you, Joe. Police Department, Police Chief Ray Rana. Chief.
A few items, as I mentioned before, we were very fortunate to bring the SNP bus to Los Banos a few times, and we had 2 events recently. We were able to perform 115 spay-neuter events. I bring this up because these events are so popular with our community and our ongoing commitment to address unwanted animals that come in and out of our shelter. Our 4 trainees that are scheduled to graduate March 27th are still on track. As promised, when they graduate and I swear them in at the academy, I will bring them here to meet you all, but just an update that they're still on track. Very excited to also report that we provided a conditional offer to our maintenance 1 employee for the police department. So we are working through that final stage. I do have 1 CSO, 1 dispatcher in backgrounds. We just did CSO oral boards today, and we are moving a few other candidates into backgrounds as well. Congratulations to 2 of our new officers, Officers Zachary Zuspin and David Peralta. They recently started with us. They have now finished their field training program. And so they are now released to solo patrol. So instead of being with a training officer on duty, they are now going to be on their own, which puts 2 more police officers on the road in our community. So that's always a good thing. And then just to touch up on a little bit more about what Chief Tuala mentioned, Monday it was all hands on deck. First thing in the morning, we were all on the phone with each other as we were trying to get to the scene. We were on the phone with the superintendent. So there was a lot of coordination. Unfortunately, these things, they are ever evolving. And so we are trying to gather information, and we're trying to provide information. We're also concerned for our staff. We're trying to provide road closures. We're trying to get equipment in the air. We're trying to get equipment and personnel to Los Banos. So just to add, we pride ourselves, police and fire, in working very well with the public, in collaborating with the public, and ensuring public safety. So as the chief mentioned, we're not above looking at incidents like this and saying, why waste them? Let's learn from them. So our 2 departments have already talked. We're scheduling additional conversations. We're going to bring in additional partners to see for the next time something like this happens. The next time it may not be a hazardous material incident. It could be something else. And so we are always looking for these events to work and to make ourselves better. So, I think that's all. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much. I know when an emergency happens and it has hazard material, that unfortunately delays things so much. It's because you have to do this notification, you have to get the people in board, and then and I know the firemen can't even go in. No one can go in. No one really knows what's happening. It's a crazy, but we're going to learn from it and do better. Thanks, Chief. Good job. And now we'll go to our Public Works Director, William Vi. William?
I have nothing to report.
Good job, William. We like that. Okay, so with that, our City Attorney report, Mary Leonard.
Thank you, Mayor. So I did attend the PARMA conference last week. That was the Public Agency Risk Management Conference. They had a number of great courses, but most notable was the keynote speaker, who was Captain Richard Phillips. If anyone recalls, he was the captain of the ship that was captured by pirates, back in 2009. Tom Hanks actually portrayed him in the movie. But he gave his whole background, and then he also spoke on the importance of leadership and putting your community first. So I think that was probably one of the things I enjoyed the most about that conference. And then next week, I am going to attend the Cal Cities Planning Commission Conference with staff, but am always available by phone and email.
Well, keep learning. That's where it changes all the time.
Thank you.
This job is changing every day. Thank you, Mary. And we'll go to City Manager's Report. Niran Than. Niran.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll try to keep this short, but sometimes it's hard when there's a lot happen in a week. First of all, thank you to our teams for the Monday event. I was fortunate enough to be on scene for the entire event, starting from 6 o'clock in the mornings, and that was the first phone call from the Merced County CEO, Mark Hendricksons, on the event itself, that their team was mobilizing, our team was mobilizing. Unfortunately, emergencies and stuff like this happens almost at the most opportunist times. It happened right before the commute traffic, right before school starts, so a lot of decisions were required to be made just before then. I was on a phone call with the superintendent along with fire chief as well as the police chief. However, we need to have a level of certainties on the level of evacuation, shelters in place, and a lot of those things depend on technologies, and some of those technologies are rest with other agencies like the county, the Plume models, those things. We need to have certain of assurance, because one thing we didn't want to have happens also is the cost panic. There was definitely discussions about closing school for the entire districts. We understand parents sometimes do not have sufficient resources to watch the kids at home. They might be working, they might be over the hill by the time we call, right? And at 6:30, when we make the call for the shelter in place and establish those radius, some of those kids are already been dropped off at school. So those are also the factor into decision. However, I can assure you that the first thing that comes to mind is always the safety of our community. The 1 mile radius that was established was very, very conservative. Knowing where the plume was actually going, we were expanded that significantly further than what's needed to be, just for precautions in the event that, hey, half an hour from now or an hour from now, the wind might change directions. Mother Nature has her own plan, and we just have to be able to adapt. I'll be the first one to tell you that we're not perfect, but we're working toward it. One is resources. I can tell you that as of this morning, actually, we've been planning for this for the last 2 months now, that our request for qualification for Fire Station 4 and the Emergency Operating Center has already hit the street. So we know that is something that our community has been looking for and needed to bump up our resources from a public safety standpoint. This is a $13 million project that we are planning and will be installing right behind Walmart to accommodate those growth and the demand for our community. Secondly, in addition to the emergency response, is on the day-to-day. I know I travel the same road as you guys do, that our roads are in poor conditions. We are working on those. What we are working on now, beyond the design and beyond the engineering and construction, is the community outreach. Is that to tell our resident which road we're paving? What is our next 4-year paving plans going to look like? We are putting those maps together because we've already been working on those plans. Right now, the first phase for 2026 actually going to go out to bid here in April. So in the next 4 years, I can share with you this, that about 32 lane mile of our road is going to be reconstructed. So that's what we're working on, and we're going to be sharing with you all those maps and what those roads are going to look like. And I think a lot of you will be happy to see that majority of them are those collected in Arterial Street that many of us are traversing every day. So we are working on a lot of different fronts, and I look forward to providing those more information to you. And we got direction from council that they want to be transparent. They want to engage with you. So we will be working on community outreach and engagement plan that will include all of our residents and find an easier place for you guys to get information as well. So a lot of that will be to come in the next couple months. That's conclude my presentation, or my report, sorry.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll go to District 3, Marcus Chavez. Marcus.
All right, so I'll try to keep it short. One thing that I think it was last year, we were working on, I think it was the community design standards and other things, and I know it was a big topic of discussion for us, was the widening of the roads. We wanted them to make sure that fire and police had adequate space to properly respond everywhere, so I know that was something we've already been working on, because definitely what was referred to earlier on those real small streets, that doesn't work. So just so people know that is something that, we still continually discuss and more. I did want to ask our city manager, someone reached out to me about, backflow valves and, why do we have people from out of the city working on those if we want to keep money inside the city and spend and support local and stuff like that? And I appreciate the question. I didn't know the answer, so I wanted to see if Neuron could just real quick, how does that work?
The City Public Work Department has a list of certified backflow preventers. We do not select backflow preventers to do the works. It's actually the private business who's actually contract with backflow preventer to go and then, certify their backflow. We as a city only get the test result back. So we do not solicit or hire a company directly for those private businesses.
All right, thank you. So just, thanks to staff as always. It's late, I'll keep it short, so thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. Mayor Pro Tem Deborah Lewis, District 4.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few things. First of all, at our last Air Board, we accepted an appropriation of $3,015,461 from the Air Resources Board, CARBS, which was designated funding from the Department of Finance and distribution funds to formulate a local air district to fund projects to mitigate excess emissions. And it's kind of a difficult thing to explain how that all happens, but money is given out to companies and organizations to reduce their adding pollution in the air and buying new equipment to mitigate that. So that was the only thing I had to report from the Air Board. I did attend the MCAG meeting on behalf of the mayor, and the one project, Measure V, which affects Los Banos, the implementation plan was delayed, and the release of the staff report to release the implementation plan has been delayed because there was not a quorum to pass an issue with Livingston, and so we couldn't separate out the west side project from the east side project because it was all put together as one on the agenda. So I think, Mayor, next time it comes, they're going to separate those out so they can vote on the west side and get our plan moving forward, and the east side could deal with their issues that they need to deal with. Everybody, this evening I put a calendar on your desktop for the Air District. It's the annual calendar for 2025, and that particular calendar has a lot of different drawings in there. The cover page was a student that won who was awarded $500 for their drawing, and each calendar month, and there are 13 in there of different students that were selected, they each got $100 for their drawing about air pollution. So in the 5 years that I've been on that board, and next year will be my last year, no one from Los Banos ever won anything, and I don't think anyone applied. So I made a mission to try to get that information out and went to the school board and gave a presentation there. I understand some kids have already submitted their drawings. And also I checked with our air board, and it doesn't just have to be the school district. The city of Los Banos can do its own mission and try to get this out. So for our staff who I knew had children, I gave them an application inside their calendar. The rest of the applications, which are in English and Spanish, I've left with our Parks and Rec director. And I'm hoping maybe that, we could schedule something, maybe Joe, that you could put something together at our community center and have, all the kids come in who want to enjoy this and join in and have a drawing day and submit that to the Air Board. So we're going to inundate them this year, and they'll see more Los Banos applications than they've ever seen in their life. So, yeah, it'll just be all Los Banos kids on the calendar next year. So it's a great opportunity for our kids, and there's that incentive. when they found out, the school board, that there was money behind it for these kids to get involved in drawing. I think a lot of kids are excited about doing this. Minnie, I want to thank you for fixing the check register. I can read it now. And I don't need a ruler to try to figure out what line is what. It's an excellent job, so you did a great thing on that. Thank you so much. And Mayor, I think I have hit all my high points. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. District 1, Mitzi Perez. Mitzi.
I don't have anything to report, but I am very excited for Arbor Day, and I'm thankful to have been invited to announce the winners. I'm really looking forward to that. And then just very briefly, because of the vacancy, we're going to try and do the social media thing and everything, but I really encourage, I think word of mouth is very powerful. So, we have District 2 residents today. Spread the word out. This is very rushed. It was a hard decision for me, but I specifically lean that way due to just hearing directly from District 2 residents. So, it'd be very helpful, just spread the word, and, we're going to try to get that done to give you that representation. And that's pretty much it. And thank you to the staff.
Great, thank you very much. I'll start off. So the Peninsula Clean Energy that we talked about during the meeting a little bit, but the CARE program, I just wanted to report my meeting I had, I guess it was last week. 20% of our population's on the CARE, which is a lower cost for electricity. And that's 1,000, actually, it's a 20% credit on the PG&E bill on the electrical side, which is Peninsula Clean Energy. And that's 1,100 households is enrolled in that. And so it really is helping a lot. And Sean this evening talked a little bit about that. We had a 2x3 meeting with the school board last week. 2 council members, Mayor Pro Tem, myself, 3 school board members. And we had a very constructive meeting. And basically we were talking about future school sites. That's what it's all about. We need to get them into planning so it's not our schools are overcrowded. Let's look for a school. Let's be proactive on it, and they're all for it, and they're doing it. I went to the Boys and Girls Open House last Saturday. That was at Scripps Park there, College Greens Park at Scripps Drive. I was very impressed. They've been in Los Banos pretty much full-time since November 2024. Before that, I think it was just 1 or 2 days a week. They're running after-school programs. I was very happy to hear that the school district in March is going to start providing transportation from the elementary schools to College Green Park so more students could be part of the after-school program. That is really where it's all about. So when parents have to work till 5, they can pick up their kids at the College Green Park. And I know we've talked about this, but they really do need a permanent site in our town, and that has to be part of the discussion because right now they're servicing 1,400 students in Los Banos, and good group. They need 2 representatives from Los Banos. They need you to apply. I think Blanche, you've been a part of this Boys and Girls Club. Yeah, I think I remember that. But there's 2 openings and they need Los Banos. Again, it was Javier talked a little bit about the museum talk last Wednesday. I've been to all of them. I spoke at a couple of them. It was great. I encourage you to go online on YouTube and watch it. Paul Loeffler, who was the star in Fresno, I told him he has to run for mayor of Fresno, told me, I think 3 or 4 times that night that our tagline, I said it already, for Los Banos has to be center of the universe. Los Banos, center of the universe. And I like that. So he actually said it on the microphone too, so that was great. And then Mike Hughes did a great job. Paul did a great job, and Paul Sentner did a great job. In 1970, graduate from our high school, 250 hours of fighter pilot time, and it was quite a story. He was in the Pentagon on 9/11 when the jet went into the Pentagon. He was in his office. It was incredible stories. So anyway, Monday, Mayor Pro Tem and myself, we met with Anna Boyenga, that's running for county superintendent. Very nice lady. I encourage you, there's, I think, 7 people running for county school superintendent this year. Dr. Tijan is retiring, who's the current one, who used to be the superintendent of Los Banos Unified, and supported him since the beginning. So anyway, get to know your candidates. We'll be voting for them. I was very impressed with Anna. Tomorrow, I actually do have a meeting with PG&E too, and I'm not sure what we're going to talk about, but it's about the future, something about Los Banos. Hopefully it's grants. That's what we're after. And again, I encourage everybody to go to the Arbor Day breakfast on Friday at the community center at 7 a.m. to 10. We need to raise more money for our museum, and hopefully, Mary, they've thrown on your desk the property for the museum, new museum on the corner of 7th. We need to make sure we get going on that, move that forward, so we can get a new museum along with this. So what the plan is on the corner of 7th and H Street. School district, the couple of water districts are going to build a building and provide the bottom floor for the museum. And it's going to be funded by the water districts. City owns the property, so we're going to try to work it out so we can give them give them the property for $1, whatever it is. But then the Milliken Museum will move to the corner of 7th and H with the big window looking at our Henry Miller statues. It's going to be perfect. Love that. That's why if you want to be part of this council, some exciting stuff is happening in our future. So that's all I have, and we will be going into closed session, public employee performance evaluation, city manager, pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B, and if any decision is made in closed session, we'll be coming out here in the public and letting it be known to the public or taking a vote if necessary. Thank you all for joining us. Appreciate all your comments during our meeting. We're going in closed session. Okay, we're out of closed session, and we had, let's see what it says here. Public employee and performance evaluation, city manager pursuant to Government Code 54957. Only direction was given. There's nothing to come out and vote on or report on. So the time is 11:07 p.m. Thank you for being with us, and we'll see you real soon. This meeting's adjourned.